Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. I become stronger when I signed in at Naruto. Chapter 81. A frenzy flashed across the face of the Red Sand Scorpion. Immediately afterwards, a more violent murderous aura suddenly broke out. Even with the help of Morizaru, Gaara and the others were suppressed in an instant. This is the murderous aura of the strongest puppet master in the ninja world. In the past 10 years, the Scorpion of the Red Sand does not know how many people have killed. He performed his tricks with hundreds of machines, and all of those 100 puppets were human puppets. All of them are 100 carefully selected by him among the people he has killed. Moreover, he even slaughtered the country with this trick. And there is more than one. It is conceivable that he is burdened with a heavy blood debt. The number of murders of this guy is far more than everyone imagined. The huge amount of murder has created his extremely exaggerated murderous aura, even overwhelming the tail beast. When this murderous aura came out, everyone except Shinyu was like falling into an ice cave. You didn't even use your full strength just now. Kakashi was shocked. Nani? Kazuo Morizaru squinted his eyes slightly, and said incredulously, this kid is really not easy. Hearing this, Gaara asked in a low voice, what? Can't even you stand it? Huh, every time this uncle comes out, before killing a few people, he will be sealed by you humans. Aikyo Morizaru defended. What is it? Murderous spirit does not mean strength. Beat him and it's over. Humph. The Red Sand Scorpion glanced at Deidara next to him, and asked braggingly, have you seen it? This time, Deidara did not spare his compliment, awesome, big brother Scorpion. This can even be. However, before he finished bragging, his face changed drastically. Because he clearly felt a murderous aura much stronger than that of a scorpion, and he suddenly pressed across from the opposite side. The powerful murderous intent of the Scorpion of Red Sand was crushed. The cold sweat directly soaked the back of the scorpion. How can it be? The Scorpion of the Red Sand is not shocked. Once, he thought that the murderous aura in his body could absolutely crush everyone. But now, being slapped in the face by Shinyu. Moreover, he could feel that the murderous aura released by his opponent was much stronger than his own. This murderous aura is almost condensed into substance. Shinyu's murderous aura was Uchiha Madara's murderous aura obtained through the system. You know, the murderous aura inherited from Uchiha Madara is incredible. Although the Scorpion also killed many people, even some small countries. However, compared with Uchiha Madara who had been killed all the way from the Sengoku period, it was still a lot worse. You know, Uchiha Madara is a man known as Ninja Shira. What is Shira? No one kills more than him. As soon as Uchiha Madara's murderous intent appeared, the audience was instantly shocked. It was also the first time that Kakashi and Gaara had seen Shinyu release such a terrible murderous intent, and they were shocked. This kid, Konoha, hasn't been out for 3 years, how can he have such a powerful murderous intent? Kakashi frowned, puzzled. Maybe this is the performance of pregnancy. Can't speculate with common sense. Even one of Gaara's body was taken aback, and he said directly, it is not easy. This murderous aura is not weaker than those two people. I Love Luo heard the words and asked curiously, those two? Humph, ignorant kid, who else can make this uncle take heart? Kazuo Morizaru curled his lips and said disdainfully, of course it's the two fools Uchiha Madara and Gachiko. This guy didn't dare to show up in the face of Shinyu, and now it can be considered a bully to catch a Gaara. Hiss. Hearing these two names, Gaara took a breath and said, it turned out to be the two legendary characters. Coincidentally, Gaara and Kakashi, two murderous people, were shocked. However, for the other 3 players who were not murderous, Naruto, Sakura and Temari, they did not have much reaction. On the opposite side, the Scorpion of the Red Sand was relieved for a long time. He stared at Shinyu fiercely, and asked every single word, you guy, who the hell are you? Shinyu smiled and said lightly, the one who killed you. Ha ha. The Red Sand Scorpion smiled coldly and said, very well, it's an opponent worthy of my all-out efforts. Shinyu, right, after you die, you will definitely become my best work. The Scorpion of the Red Sand licked his lips bloodthirstily, and his gaze at Shinyu was full of enthusiasm, as if he was looking at a work of art. Before Shinyu could speak, Deidara next to him yelled dissatisfiedly, hey, hey. Brother Xie, what are you talking about? Why has he become your opponent? Deidara, what are you talking about? The scorpion of red sand gave him a cold glance. Deidara said with a sneer. This guy is my opponent. I want to beat him and prove that I am better than Itachi. Prove my art. Nonsense. The scorpion of the red sand said with great dissatisfaction. Catch the wind shadow as your hand, this time it is my turn. Hey, brother scorpion, Deidara said very upset. 1 yard is 1 yard, understand? Feng Ying, can Feng Ying be comparable to this guy? Feng Ying can't be compared with this guy. Xie didn't deny it, but instead said with a smile, but you broke a hand even after you hit Feng Ying, how can you fight this guy? The two did not deliberately lower their voices, and they could hear clearly from the other side. Gaara twitched the corners of his mouth, and he still didn't understand how he was lying down. Tisk tusk, kid, you are being despised, said a gloat. Quote. Gaara stopped talking. He smiled, and then said faintly, but it doesn't matter. Looking at the entire ninja world, I'm afraid I can't find anyone comparable to that kid. You, Deidara, whose scars were uncovered, immediately said in anger, that's my carelessness. If you're careless, do you understand? I don't care, Scorpion said fiercely, I must arrest him and be a puppet. Suddenly, in order to fight for the right to fight, with Qin Yu, the duo started infighting directly. Gaara's eyes have been fixed on Deidara. It seemed that the previous defeat to Deidara made this young Feng Ying very unhappy. Jia, boy, I'm not angry. Do you really want to take revenge? One-tailed Shozuru was in Gaara's body, and suddenly said with a behest, it's all to blame for your poor strength before. But it doesn't matter, this time with the help of my uncle, you will definitely be able to defeat him. Ai Luo nodded secretly, then turned to Qin Yu and said, sister. Brother-in-law, that guy playing with clay, leave it to me. Before he could finish, the red sand scorpion on the opposite side suddenly psyched up a humanoid puppet. That is. Gaara's eyes suddenly shrank as soon as he saw the puppets psyched up by the scorpion of the red sand, and went silly on the spot. As the 5th generation of Feng Ying, he is quite familiar with the deeds and portraits of Feng Ying in the past. So, with just one glance, he recognized that this was the 3rd generation of Feng Ying. Temuri's face also changed, and he asked incredulously, Gaara, that seems to be the 3rd generation of Feng Ying adults. In response, Gaara said in a deep voice, yes. Nani, is that the strongest wind shadow missing? When Kakashi heard the words, his pupils shrank and asked in shock, why is he here? Gaara thought for a while, and then said solemnly, it looks like this red sand scorpion was made into a puppet. Obviously, this Feng Ying still possesses a lot of information. Puppet. Kakashi was shocked, isn't this what Temari said just now? Yes, human puppet. Gaara nodded, thinking that everyone didn't know and explained it. A very evil method of making puppets. The human body is directly made into a puppet to drive. The puppet will retain the secret technique and even the blood inheritance boundary. Hiss. Kakashi took a breath of air, this is too evil. The red sand scorpion on the side heard the words and sneered, I didn't expect you kid to know a lot. Red sand scorpion, you, as the genius puppet master of Sand Ninja Village, did such a shameless deed. Gaara said with an extremely gloomy face, today, I am going to clear the door for Sand Ninja Village. Yo, Gaara, aren't you ready to take action against the muddy player? Why, your grudges are not reported? Qin Yu asked with interest. Asshole. The opposite Dodalitan became furious, and said angrily, you are playing mud. Your whole family is playing mud. Gaara replied to Qin Yu solemnly, compared to the hatred of the entire Sand Ninja Village, personal hatred is nothing. It is my responsibility as the 5th generation Feng Ying to kill this traitor. Qin Yu nodded when he heard the words and said, tisk, I didn't see it, you are still very enlightened. The red sand scorpion also heard Gaara's determination, but he just smiled coldly. Even the 3rd generation Feng Ying, who is known as the strongest Feng Ying, died in my hands. You, the stinky 5th generation Feng Ying, why bother to die? You want to come to me to be your opponent, but I have no interest in you. When the red sand scorpion said this, he didn't even bother to look at Gaara. His eyes have been firmly locked on Qin Yu. Uchiha Qin Yu is his goal. Hey, brother Xie, this is not good for you. Deidara jumped out at this time and said directly, since this kid wants to make gestures with you, then you senior should educate him. As for this Chin Yu, just leave it to me. Roll. Scorpion rolled his eyes angrily, and said directly, don't think I don't know what horrible idea you are fighting, I tell you don't even think about it. Humph. Daedalus smiled slyly and said, Brother Scorpion, I'm afraid you can't help it. Huh, what do you mean? Scorpion narrowed his eyes. This time, Deidara did not answer him, but threw a piece of clay in his hand. Snapped. When the clay fell to the ground, it instantly grew bigger and became a big bird. Deidara quickly jumped onto the bird and flew directly. Big Brother Scorpion, you said that if I fly out, will the kid chase me? Deidara raised an eyebrow at the red sand scorpion on the ground. You. The red sand scorpion changed his face and said angrily, Deidara, you used such a despicable method. He. Deidara smiled insidiously, and then said, this is called the ability to know or not. If you want to have the ability, you can tie that kid's feet and let him not chase me. As soon as Deidara finished speaking, he controlled the clay giant bird below him to fly towards the outside of the base. Humph. Xie snorted coldly, and then said, I can't keep him, but I can keep you. As he said, his fingers danced. 10 chakra lines burst out from his fingers, and they reached the giant bird at Deidara's feet. He is the top puppet master in the ninja world, and he can use the chakra line to forcibly manipulate other objects. Brother Scorpion, you are too much. Deidara was startled. Then he hurriedly manipulated his mount, twisting left and right for a while, and barely got rid of the chakra line chasing. After Deidara got rid of the chasing of the chakra line, he controlled his mount to wind around the sky. Chin Yu, right, if you have the ability, go out and make gestures with me. Ha 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 ha. Chin Yu smiled and said, since you insist on seeking death, then I will fulfill you. He had seen this a long time ago and it was not pleasing to his eyes. To put it bluntly, it is undercut. Seeing that Naruto next to him was finally about to start his hands, he started yelling, hey, Chin Yu, you don't need to do it, let me do it. Chin Yu glanced at Naruto sideways and asked, which one of your skills can hit him? Is it possible to use a shuriken? Ah, this. Naruto was directly questioned by Chin Yu's soul. Scratching his head awkwardly, he said directly, why don't I deal with the guy opposite? Deidara controlled the mount and flew directly out of the base, and all Kakashi looked at Chin Yu. Whether it was from the Konoha or the two Saranin villages, Gaara and Temari, they completely regarded Chin Yu as the backbone. Well, since they have already drawn a word, I'm not good enough to fight. Chin Yu shrugged and said, the puppet master opposite, just leave it to you, Master Feng is going to clean the door. Ahem. When Chin Yu said Master Feng, Gaara coughed awkwardly and said, don't worry, he will leave it to us. This guy is not easy, you have to be careful. Kakashi smiled and said, don't worry, there is Sakura, the medical master, and the other party's methods are almost useless. Chin Yu twitched the corners of his mouth when he heard the words, and said directly, it's because of her that I'm not relieved. You. Haruno Sakura bit her lip with anger and said, huh. Watch it, I will prove my strength. Hope so. Chin Yu glanced at her slantingly, and replied indifferently. Immediately, Chin Yu turned his head and whispered in Gaara and Kakashi's ears, that guy's body is a bit weird. However, I have observed it. The left chest should be his weakness, you should pay attention to it. Quote. Chin Yu, who is familiar with the original book, knew that the red sand scorpion had transformed his body into a puppet. And on his left chest, there is a regenerating core, that's where his weakness lies. That's it. Gaara and Kakashi nodded at the same time and said, don't worry. Leave it to us. Seeing this, Naruto muttered dissatisfiedly from the side, what? It's mysterious. Then, I'll leave it to you, I'll deal with the muddy guy outside. Chin Yu smiled and waved his hand, then disappeared for a moment. Hateful. The scorpion of the red sand watched Chin Yu leave. Although he was very unhappy, he still controlled the 3 generations of Feng Ying and began to attack. The battle inside the base has officially started. After Chin Yu came outside, he saw Deidara hovering in the sky from a distance. And the extremely eye-catching, empty, hunting left sleeve. Seeing Chin Yu chasing it out, Deidara looked very excited, and suddenly smiled wildly, ha ha ha. You fellow, it seems that you have some courage, so you dare to face me alone. Quote. Chin-Yu glanced at Daedala with a little pain, and then said jokingly, although you look irritable in the sky, you are really embarrassed with one-armed appearance. Sure enough, Daedala jumped angrily after being teased by Chin-Yu. Even with only one hand left, I can easily kill you. Deidara was an extremely arrogant guy, and it was a shame for him to break a hand by Gaara. However, Chin-Yu is now openly taunting him with this incident, how could he not be furious? Give me to die. With a picture of Deidara's right hand, a handful of small grasshoppers made of clay were sprinkled. These clay grasshoppers were all prepared in the sky before Chin-Yu left the base. He finds the most suitable time to detonate these grasshoppers. Chin-Yu just smiled slightly, but also casually raised. A large patch of needle-shaped lightning greeted the clay grasshopper that was approaching. This ninjutsu trick is a dry bird. This ninjutsu, which was supposed to have been created by the second pillar of Sasuke, had already come out in Chin-Yu's hands. With his current lay-done accomplishments and knowing the general characteristics of this technique, it is not too easy to create it. After most of the clay grasshoppers were pierced, they fell straight to the ground. But there were still some survivors who were not pierced and continued to rush towards Chin-Yu. Deidara showed a smirk, and his right hand jerked to his chest, and he was about to shout, "Explosion," to detonate the grasshoppers. However, before he could control the clay explosion, Chin-Yu had already moved first. Stabbed. Powerful thunder light emerged from his body, extending outward in strips. After the sticky grasshoppers hit the thunder light, they immediately stopped the castration and fell directly to the ground. After Deidara's clay grasshopper was electrocuted by Lei Dun, his clay was completely waste and could not be detonated at all. Seeing that his first attack was completely scrapped, Deidara's face instantly became extremely ugly. Although the clay grasshoppers were not broken up, he was very clear about his technique. The clay that has been stabbed by Lei Dun, it is impossible to detonate successfully. Therefore, he simply shouted, "Explosion," without taking the insult to himself. Why does this guy keep using thunder escape? Is it a coincidence or did he see through my technique? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Coincidence. It must be a coincidence. The unbelievers Deidara kept telling himself. Using the mouth of his right hand, he swallowed a large piece of clay from his pocket and chewed quickly. Soon, a small dragon-shaped clay was spit out. Bang! The originally small dragon swelled violently, and instantly turned into a huge flying dragon, hovering above Chin-Yu's head. Chin-Yu looked at the giant dragon circling in the sky, his eyes narrowed. He knew that this was the dragon that Deidara called C2, and it was a very difficult technique. Especially in the original work, Deidara cooperated with the self-proclaimed Alfie to carry out an open ground joint attack using C2, which made the second pillar of Sasuke very embarrassed. But today, without Alfie's existence, a joint air-ground explosion would not be possible. And Chin-Yu would not give Daedala too many opportunities. Ha, Chin-Yu, try my C2. If you are capable, you can use the two techniques you just used to resist. Deidara pointed to his chest and began to control the dragon to attack while circling. I saw a squirm in the dragon's mouth, and then began to spit out explosive clay to the ground. Chin-Yu hooked the corner of his mouth, and his figure flickered, avoiding the clay falling from the sky. Bang, bang, bang. The large tracts of clay didn't blow up to Chin-Yu, but instead blew up the ground with sore holes. For a time, no piece of clay successfully exploded to Chin-Yu. The speed of detonating the clay is actually very fast. However, Chin-Yu was faster. Deidara stared fiercely at Chin-Yu's continuous shuttle figure, and exclaimed, "Asshole guy, you can run. I see when you can run." Suddenly, a strange buzzing sound rang. Nani? Deidara in the sky was taken aback and hurriedly took a closer look. Chin-Yu has been carrying his left hand behind him, a huge blue light spin, like a huge shuriken, spinning frantically at this moment. Chin-Yu looked up at Deidara and said with a smile, "Your attack is almost done, and it's time to taste my attack." The next moment, his left hand threw abruptly. The huge spiral shuriken instantly left his hand, piercing the dragon through the air and rushing straight into the sky. Not good. Deidara's face changed drastically. It turned out to be Muji ninjutsu. Throw it out. Deidara never expected that such a terrifying move would be Muji ninjutsu. I didn't expect that such a high density and crazy spinning chakra could be thrown out directly. Moreover, I still point to my own C2 dragon. Even if he is not a perceiving ninja, he can clearly perceive how terrible chakra is contained in this great light spin. Being hit head-on by this move, the dragon is destroyed. In a hurry, Deidara mobilized chakra in his body, frantically trying to control the dragon to avoid the blow. However, the speed of the spiral shuriken is too fast. Rao was struggling to control the dragon's movement, but he was shot in the back. Call. Daedala let out a sigh of relief. Anyway, if you save your upper body and mouth, you can continue to attack. He could feel that Qinyu's move was not Thunder Run ninjutsu, so he was not very panicked. Then, in Deidara's shocked gaze, the spiral shuriken that was originally quite large suddenly became bigger. The spiral shuriken suddenly became a huge vortex. The huge clay dragon was torn to pieces in an instant. Hateful. Looking at the dragon that was killed by in an instant, Deidara's face was gloomy, and his eyes were full of shock. However, the shocking thing is not over yet. Stabbed. A sharp thunder and lightning sounded, and Deidara suddenly returned to his senses. I saw Qinyu, who was originally standing on the ground, suddenly jumped several meters high. Moreover, in his right hand, a lightning spear stretched out. The tip of the thunder and lightning spear pointed directly at the giant clay bird at Deidara's feet. Not good. Deidara's face changed drastically. This clay giant bird is different from the giant dragon just now. Without him, the giant dragon loses at most a means of attack. But this clay giant bird is related to his own safety. However, before he could react, the Chidori sharp spear had penetrated the giant bird's head. Even after piercing the giant bird with the Chidori sharp gun, it has extra power. The sharp tip of the gun directly wiped Deidara's scalp. At this moment, Deidara was so scared that the souls were all gone. The head of the giant bird is the key, and coupled with being restrained by Thunder Dun, it became a pile of tatters on the spot. And Deidara, standing on it, fell down without restraint. The dry bird sharp spear used by Qinyu was more powerful than the two pillars used by Sasuke in the original work, no matter how powerful or long it was. Deidara, who was falling rapidly, was still a little dazed. He still doesn't understand that he is, what's wrong. He has a brain, and his strength is also very high. However, the authorities were so fascinated that they were eaten to death by Qinyu's routine. However, his combat literacy is still very high, knowing that he can't think about it at this time. The first thing he has to solve is the problem of how to land. Falling from such a high place, if you don't take some measures, I'm afraid it will fall into a pile of meat sauce. But at this time, it is obviously impossible to make another giant clay bird under him. In a hurry, Deidara gritted his teeth and released a ninjutsu. Earth escape Wonkwon Marsh. In an instant, the ground under Daedala no longer became hard. Because of Deidara's ninjutsu, the earth became muddy. However, Deidara's vision is very beautiful, but how could Qinyu let him do what he wanted? The weird buzzing sounded again, and the falling Deidara took a look. Good guy, Qinyu actually rubbed out another big shuriken at this moment. Moreover, the direction in which this shuriken was thrown was exactly the direction he was going to fall. If there is no accident, he will fall directly into it in 2 seconds. Deidara was scared to death. You're on a horse, don't chakra with this kind of trick. Put it one after another. At this moment, Deidara was extremely sad and angry. In just a few seconds, this was the second time he felt the threat of death. The previous thunder and lightning spear almost pierced his head, and now the spiral shuriken is directly on the path of his fall. He has seen the power of the spiral shuriken, and he clearly knows how terrifying this thing is. Deidara thought about the clay dragon just now, with its size and defensive power. But it was all smashed in an instant. I'm afraid it won't work to put on my small body. At this moment, Qinyu suddenly thought of a stock. There was a wise choice before me, and I regretted it when I lost it. The most painful thing in the world is this. If God can give me a chance to do it again, I will say to the man, Uncle, I was wrong, I promise to see you once and kneel again in the future. If you have to add a deadline to this operation, I hope 10,000 years. However, Deidara, who was falling rapidly at this moment, was going crazy. He could already clearly feel the wind emanating from the spiral shuriken. The spiral shuriken is like a huge electric fan. At this moment, a powerful wind is being released, and the powerful wind blade is about to strangle Deidara. What? Under the crisis, Deidara shouted, and a small universe broke out. I saw him quickly put his right hand into his pocket, then quickly pulled it out, and prodded it out diagonally. In his palm, a long white clay snake leaned straight toward the distant branch. This trick was originally called twin snakes, but now because Deidara lost a left hand, it has become a mono snake. Under the threat of death, Deidara actually broke through himself. This time, the length of the white clay snake is so amazing that it has entangled a branch far away. Deidara looked at the opportunity and exhausted all his strength to pull. With the help of this strength, Deidara finally stopped the downward trend and let his body move laterally. However, his operation was a bit late, so he still got some damage from the spiral shuriken. The powerful wind blade cut the shao robe on his body into a mess, and bloodstains were also drawn on his body. However, Deidara was not as stable as he thought when he moved out, and finally fell heavily to the ground. Looks very embarrassed and miserable. Puff. Deidara stood up from the ground staggeringly, spouting out a mouthful of blood. However, compared to losing one's life, these are minor problems. Looking at Daedala, who was embarrassed, Chinyu said jokingly, "How do you play in the mud? Do you still think you can beat me now?" Deidara was furious. After eating so many losses in succession, he has not dared to underestimate Chinyu anymore. But he was arrogant and never knew what surrender was. Deidara stared at Chinyu, his eyes full of crazy fighting spirit. "Boy, it's not over yet. I haven't lost yet." Deidara's right hand stretched into the bag again, tumbling. As Chinyu put too much pressure on him, Deidara actually broke through. The length of the previous monad snake was much longer than usual, and now the speed of this technique is greatly improved. Soon, a crooked doll-like clay clone appeared on the ground. As soon as the doll-like clay landed, Deidara immediately controlled it to rush towards Chinyu. Kang! Chinyu sneered, and then drew out the Thunder God sword from his waist. With a quick cut, the humanoid clay was cut in two instantly. His strength and swordsmanship are so sharp that they are not comparable to Sasuke's half-hearted man in the original book. However, this move cannot be broken by slashing alone. After the clay was cut into two pieces, it became more agile and attacked from both sides. Humph! Chinyu let out a cold snort, and slammed the Thunder God's sword into the ground. Put your palms together, then push forward. Lei Dun Lei Dongtian. The extremely violent thunder light bloomed from Chinyu's palm. Lei Guang stretched out for several meters. Deidara on the opposite side was almost blinded. The humanoid clay was instantly dissipated by powerful lightning. Deidara's spiritual manipulation was instantly broken. Hateful. Seeing that his technique was broken again, Deidara's face was very ugly. Although this technique is not very powerful, it is difficult to entangle. Especially after the split, it was very agile, and it was difficult for ordinary thunder done to hit. Even if you can hit a part, you will definitely be able to leave a part. Unexpectedly, Chinyu's Lei Dun attainment was so high that he could issue such an exaggerated thunder dunk technique with such an exaggerated scale and intensity. However, Chinyu was no longer ready to play with him anymore. This time, he is going to make a quick fight. Chinyu looked at Daedala, and said cheerfully, "Well, it's almost time to play, it's better to solve it as soon as possible." After speaking, "Kick it." A seemingly random kick, but it accurately hit the hilt of the Thor's sword. The Thor's sword that was originally inserted on the ground rose from the ground and flew in a circle to the opposite Deidara. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Looking at the Thor's sword flying towards him, Deidara was shocked. He clearly remembered that in the base before, Chinyu threw this sword first, and then teleported to his side. He has also heard of the legend of the fourth generation of Hokage, knowing that Konoha's flying thunder god art requires coordinates. Are the coordinates on this broken sword? Deidara's eyes narrowed, and then he said, "You can't be really close by him, this guy's physique is quite terrifying. If this is the case, it's better than I will count." Deidara's thoughts turned sharply, and he quickly decided on a plan. He quickly recreated a giant clay bird and jumped on it. In any case, he must distance himself from Chinyu first. The giant bird took off quickly, and Deidara was not idle at all. The remaining right hand slammed clay into his mouth. And this time it was really stuffed in the mouth, not the mouth on the hand, but the real mouth on the head. As soon as Chinyu saw Deidara act like this, he already knew his plan. This guy is serious. The next move will be completely different from the previous one. However, Chinyu is also ready to be more serious. After a while, Deidara, together with the giant bird at his feet, rose to an unprecedented height before stopping. At the same time, the clay in his mouth was finally chewed, and he vomited straight out of the sky. The clay spit out from Deidara's mouth fell on the ground and quickly formed into a giant doll that looked exactly like Deidara. This is Deidara's trick, C4 Garuda. This, enlarged clay Deidara, is tens of meters high. Chinyu's body shape was insignificant in front of this big guy, like a little ant. After the big guy took shape, he rushed towards Chinyu without any hesitation. Jia Jia Jia, Chinyu, welcome this gift package. This was originally prepared by me to defeat the guy Uchiha Itachi. But today, let's try it with you first. Go to death for me. Above the sky, Deidara's arrogant voice came. As soon as this technique came out, this guy seemed to have lost confidence again, and his words obviously increased. And this is the typical, I think I can do it again, performance. Humph. Seeing the big guy rushing towards him, Chinyu sneered, then shot the puppet directly with a shot. However, after the adult doll was broken open, there was no explosion. Only in a place invisible to the naked eye, a large swath of small clay spiders drifted towards Chinyu with the wind. Although he couldn't see it, Chinyu knew this trick completely. Chinyu didn't panic at all, but hooked the corners of his mouth instead. Suddenly, his eyes opened and closed suddenly. At this moment, the eyes that were originally pitch black suddenly became extremely scarlet. In the scarlet eyes, two groups of pitch black lines formed an extremely mysterious pattern. Nani, how is it possible? Deidara, flying high in the sky, through a small telescope on his eyes, saw the changes in Chinyu's eyes for the first time. At that moment, his whole person was stunned. In Deidara's eyes, Chinyu's eyes were more charming and profound than Uchiha Itachi's. It seems to contain a strong magic. However, Deidara can't take care of these at all now, and his heart is full of shock. Because he was worried about Itachi defeating him with Shell Lunyon, he has collected a lot of information about Shell Lunyon over the years. So at a glance, he recognized that what Chinyu is showing now is the writing round eyes. Moreover, it is obviously not a general writing round eye. This guy, really evil. The next moment, because he had enough confidence in his own technique, he felt a little relieved again. Even if you have that kind of kaleidoscope to write round eyes. This trick is used to deal with Itachi. I don't believe it, you can escape. Before he could finish muttering, something that shocked him even more appeared. Deidara suddenly felt that below, there seemed to be a power stronger than the tail beast awakening. He hurriedly lowered his head and found out in shock. In Chinyu's body, huge chakras surged out. In a blink of an eye, these chakras condensed into a huge purple cyan skeleton man, and Chinyu was tightly wrapped in it. In a word, the mighty domineering madness is cool. Almost blinded Deidara's eyes. As soon as Suzuo Nengu appeared, he isolated everything from the outside world that could interfere with Chinyu. The nano-scale clay spider produced after the explosion of C4 was completely blocked out. No trace of it entered Chinyu's body. Seeing this situation, Deidara fell into deep autism. He had no idea that kaleidoscope writing round eye would have such an unbelievable move. He actually scrapped his assassin. In front of this big guy, his C4 Garuda completely turned into a joke. This is this person's unique technique, or a general technique for writing round eyes. Deidara began to think deeply. Is it right that I would be defended like this if I hit Itachi? Wait, this doesn't seem to be the point. Deidara reacted suddenly. Why did he suddenly release this stuff? Did he see through the mystery of my C4 Garuda? This discovery made Deidara even more shocked. The most powerful part of his C4 Garuda is the unknown, the small nano-scale clay, which is completely invisible to the naked eye. Without the enemy's knowledge, those little gangsters had already entered the enemy's body unknowingly. When the enemy reacted, it had been blown out. But if the enemy knew the mystery of this trick, it would be far less sharp. Most ninjas have some means to avoid the closeness of this little girl. As for Chin Yu, it was even more buggy. As soon as Susao opened, he couldn't get in anything. How can you see through my C4? Deidara asked in a deep voice. Chin Yu smiled and said, in front of these eyes, there is nothing to hide. I can see the chakras of those little things clearly. Nani? Daedala was struck by lightning. He did not expect that C4, which he regarded as a secret trick, would be seen clearly in front of Shilunian. How could this happen? Deidara crumbled a little. He wanted to use this trick to deal with its archenemy Uchiha Itachi before, but now it seems to be a complete joke. At this moment, he felt completely like a clown. How about, Mud, do you still think you can defeat Uchiha Itachi with this trick? Chin Yu said cheerfully. At this time Deidara's mind was buzzing. Annoyed into anger, he roared hysterically, ha ha ha. Chin Yu, you don't need to be so rampant. Even if you can prevent C4, can you beat me? I can leave whenever I want. What can you do with me? Ha ha. Hearing this, Chin Yu suddenly smiled and said, you said, I can't help you. Ha ha. Chin Yu suddenly smiled when he heard this. You said, I can't help you. You. Deidara was choked, and suddenly became very nervous. I quickly took a look at my height and kept it quite perfect. Even though the big guy below is very tall, there is still a lot of distance from him. After a closer look, he suddenly felt relieved. Humph. Deidara sneered. Don't pretend to me. Chin Yu sneered, then said, ignorance and fearless, let you see if I can do anything to you. In the next second, he suddenly gathered chakra to his eyes. Boom. Suzuo can almost take a big tonic. The skeleton man, who was originally slightly thin, was suddenly covered with a thick layer of armor, and even his entire body grew a lot taller. The whole Susanoo looks much more mighty than before. Deidara was also taken aback at first, but Kansuo no who didn't grow much taller, and it was not enough to threaten him, so he immediately felt relieved. Deidara laughed wildly and said, ha ha ha. Boy, that's what you can do. Now, Deidara didn't even think about defeating Chin Yu, because he already understood that it was impossible. However, he wants to fight Chin Yu in every aspect he can find, in order to retrieve his lost dignity in place. Ha ha. Chin Yu hooked his mouth. In the next second, Suzuo Nengu's two big hands emptied and stretched out suddenly. A strange wave flashed by, and a giant sword with a sheath appeared out of thin air in the palm of Suzuo Nohu's big hand. Kang. Pulling one by one with two big hands, Suzuo's giant sword was instantly unsheathed. Chin Yu hooked up the corner of his mouth, controlled Suzuo's big hand, and slashed at Daedala in the air with a thunder. No fancy moves, just a vertical cut. However, it is indeed the ultimate lethality. It's not working. Kelp plays like this. Everything just now was done in the light and flint, Deidara only felt in a trance. In the next second, a giant sword from the sky slashed towards him, frightened and exploded on the spot. This broad knife is not only amazing in length, but also amazing in width. At the same time, the blade exudes a breathtaking light, as if to kill all enemies at any time, making people shudder at first sight. The moment before, I was taunting Chin Yu for nothing, but the next second the sword came to his face. This slap in the face came too fast. Deidara could feel that this thing could kill him with a single blow, and he must not be touched. The key is that such an exaggerated body shape, let alone a sharp knife, even with a broken stick without a sharp point, will cause death or injury. Just listening to the sound of the dancing wind, you know how lethal this thing is. The strong wind made Daedala's face hurt. He didn't dare to neglect at all, and hurriedly controlled the giant bird under his feet to dodge. However, he did not idle Chin Yu. Suso danced Suso's big sword with his big hands, swiping through the air, driving Deidara into danger. Deidara hurriedly hid while controlling the giant bird at his feet to rise again, trying to escape from the attack range of Susao. Although it's difficult to ascend while dodging. However, this guy flies in the sky without problems, and his driving skills are top-notch. Susao swiped, but he really didn't touch him. Finally, Deidara's giant bird raised the height. But at the last moment, he was still rubbed by Susao. Base. The left wing of the clay giant bird was cut off on the spot. The extremely sharp knife almost touched Deidara's eyebrows. Although it was not directly cut, the wind blade brought up by the swipe of the giant knife still left a deep blood mark on Deidara's face. The wind blade brought out by Suzuo's sword scratched his face, and it was really hot spicy when the wind blew. But now Deidara can't care about these shoe pains at all. After one wing of the giant clay bird was cut off, it instantly lost its balance and even tended to fall. However, falling down is equivalent to looking for death. At this moment, Deidara burst out with a strong desire to survive. Gritting his teeth, the chakra in his body was injected into the clay giant bird like no money. With the injection of a large amount of chakras, the clay giant's only right wing thump, which was the only thing left, made it extremely difficult to raise his position. Deidara, who was once invincible, was forced into danger by Chinyu at this moment, extremely embarrassed. When he reached a safe height, Deidara hurriedly re-engaged the giant bird and transferred to it. He was standing on top of the giant bird, who had escaped from the dead, panting heavily, and there was still fear in his eyes that had not yet dissipated. It's no wonder that in the situation just now, it was a real dance on the tip of a knife, and whoever changed it would be scared. However, after fear and safety, what some people are left with is reason, which is the first time to slip away. And some people are left with only hysterical madness. Obviously, Deidara belongs to the latter. Ha ha ha. Deidara stood on the brand new mount, looked down at Chinyu on the ground, and yelled frantically. What about it? Come again if you have the ability. Can you reach this uncle? Ha ha. Chinyu sneered. In the next second, Suzuo's sword slammed into the sky. Deidara, who was originally arrogant and presumptuous, was taken aback. At this moment, he suddenly had a terrible guess: will this broad knife continue to stretch? Think of the giants before they suddenly raised their heads, and the big swords appeared out of thin air. The incredible is revealed everywhere. Think about it carefully. Compared with these, it is quite possible that it will suddenly grow longer. Thinking of this, Deidara was frightened suddenly, and he hurriedly controlled the giant bird to rise further. However, this time, he miscalculated again, and Susao did not grow longer. Even Susano's arms didn't straighten out much. This cut was just like a joke, as if Chinyu didn't even want to cut him. It's more like frightening him. Tisk tusk, I spoke so confidently just now, so that's it. Chinyu looked at Deidara jokingly and said, I am just giving my Suzuo to be able to move his muscles and bones, why are you so nervous? Deidara's face flushed, and he felt a strong sense of humiliation. Deidara, who was molested and ridiculed, was furious. But he also knew that this big guy outside Chinyu had extraordinary defensive power, and he couldn't break it. Therefore, he can only find a way to gain a bit of upper hand in speech. Chinyu, what's so crazy about you? I can fly into the sky, can you? Your broken knife is very long, but can it be higher than me? Now, what can you do? Can you touch me? And if I want to hit you, I hit you. Deidara's behavior is mad, and his words also reveal the meaning of madness. With that said, this guy was still very windy and dropped a piece of clay. Burst. Bang. The moment it touched Suzuo Nohu, it was directly detonated by Deidara. Susano's defenses are so powerful that the clay can't even make waves. Of course, Deidara knew this kind of thing. He didn't intend to break Suzuo Nengu, but simply wanted to show that, I can hit you, but you can't hit me at all, in order to disgust Chinyu. How about Chinyu, what can you do to me? Deidara yelled frantically in the air. Chinyu hooked up the corner of his mouth and said with a smile, but a smile, you really think that only you can fly into the sky? Ha, Chinyu, you've gotten mystery. Deidara snorted disdainfully. This time he believed that Chinyu must be fooling him. After all, if you really have the ability to fly, you should have used it long ago, so how could you wait until now? However, he was wrong after all. The reason why Chinyu was useless before was just because he felt it was unnecessary. But now, he is no longer ready to hide. With another powerful chakra injection, Chinyu once again opened up part of his eternal kaleidoscope pupil power. The originally mighty Suzuo Nengu has expanded a bit again. The most amazing thing is that Suzuo's double ribs suddenly popped out to two powerful chakras. In a blink of an eye, two huge purple wings were formed. Deidara in the sky saw this scene, and the whole person was completely stupid. He couldn't think that such a tall Suzuo could even carry wings on horses. Look at this posture, take off at any time. Sure enough, Qin Yu did not disappoint him in the slightest. Call, call, call. Susanna's big wings slammed up and rolled up the strong wind. In the next second, the huge Suzuo Nengu directly rose into the air. The most amazing thing is that through the powerful insight of the riding wheel, Qin Yu has always clearly known the location of the C4 spider that had never exploded before. They are blocked by Suzuo Nohu, and most of them float in front of Suzuo Nohu. Qin Yu controlled Suzuo Nengu, the angle and strength of the big wings dancing. The fan's strong wind turned the C4 spiders scattered nearby into the air. Moreover, the direction of the movement is exactly the direction where Deidara is located. Although Deidara can't see his C4***, he still feels it because of his chakra attached to it. However, he was shocked because Qin Yu suddenly formed a pair of big wings, and he didn't pay attention to anything else. So that when he discovered the abnormality, a large piece of clay had arrived not far away from him. Deidara was so frightened that he burst into a swear word on the spot. As the creator of this technique, he clearly knows how terrifying the lethality of these gadgets. He tried his best to control the giant clay bird at his feet, trying to avoid these small animals. However, under Qin Yu's deliberate influence, these little spiders are chasing after him like Tarsus maggots. Qin Yu, you are mean, you are shameless, Deidara was yelled with anger. This feeling of being chased by one's own ninjutsu must be more prickly irritated, thorny irritating, shameful and ashamed. Whispering sound. Qin Yu smiled disdainfully, and didn't bother to pay attention to Deidara. In Qin Yu's eyes, Deidara was just a second-degree boy who lacked severe beatings. But unfortunately, he met me and was about to be beaten to death. Deidara, who had been chased wildly, finally couldn't stand it anymore. Deidara gritted his teeth and actually made a seal directly, detonating those little spiders on the spot. Boom, boom, boom. Continuous explosions burst out in midair. Because they are all nano-level drugs, the explosion was not very violent. Even so, the scope of the explosion was very wide. Deidara was very close again, so together with the clay giant bird under his feet, he was directly blown out. This was a brand new giant clay bird, but now it has another wing broken. And this time, Deidara was also bombed. Although the injuries received were serious, they could not be controlled forcibly. The whole person, together with the mount, fell embarrassedly from midair. Bang! One person, one bird, hit a big hole directly on the ground. Puff! Deidara finally sat up, and a mouthful of blood spewed out on the spot. He didn't know if he was hit or was angry. The xiaopao on his body was exploded in a mess, and Deidara's breath was also very sluggish. Qin Yu was driving Suzuo Nengu, about 5 meters above the ground, floating in the air. The majestic Suzuo Nengu, like a god, stared at Deidara, who was paralyzed on the ground indifferently. Qin Yu's body was spotless, in stark contrast to Deidara, who was extremely embarrassed. How is it? How do you feel like being seriously injured by your own skills when playing in the mud? Now, you still think I can't help you? Qin Yu's tone was very plain, but what he said was very heartfelt. Deidara was so angry that he vomited another mouthful of blood. Oh, young man, don't be so angry, Qin Yu said bashfully. Deidara's face was gloomy, and now he was bruised and bruised, raising his head with difficulty and staring at the enemy in the sky. Humph, Deidara snorted coldly, and then said, Qin Yu, you arrogant fellow. Don't talk too much here. Ha ha, Qin Yu smiled. Then he said solemnly, the people who have been talking about it all the time seem to be you. Deidara time is furious, but when I think about it carefully, it seems that Qin Yu is right. He has always been clamoring about how he can easily kill his opponent. As for Qin Yu, he was quite plain from beginning to end. Hateful. Deidara, who had figured out all this, was even more furious. This arrogant and powerful young man was forced to this point for the first time. Ha ha ha, Qin Yu, do you think you will take me down now? Tell you, my art is not over yet. I still have a chance to kill you with my greatest art. When Deidara spoke, he was very impassioned. However, Qin Yu did not respond at all. At this time, Deidara was exhausted and the lamp died. Not only was he seriously injured, but there was only a little chakra left in his body. However, in this situation, Deidara is still so arrogant, there must be some means. As for what Deidara had to do, Qin Yu, who passed through the party, knew nothing more. However, he is not afraid at all, and it can even be said that he still has some small expectations. Seeing Qin Yu, who was unmoved by his own art, Deidara's expression gradually changed from arrogant to crazy. His eyes full of resentment and unwillingness are facing Qin Yu's plain and deep eyes. Qin Yu was unmoved by what he called great art and anti-killing. The pair of eternal kaleidoscope writing round eyes, without any emotions or feelings, just looked condescendingly at Deidara on the ground. As if at this moment, he was looking at a dead person. Hateful. Deidara suddenly became angry and roared, "Qin Yu, you shake me a little bit. This time you are really going to be killed by my art." Without the slightest surprise, Qin Yu remained unmoved. Floating in the air just like that, looking at him with cold eyes. That's how it makes people really hot. You don't pretend to be cool here. The same look in the eyes of that Uchiha Itachi. The same look. It's those eyes. Those unhurried eyes are really getting in the way. They are completely ignoring my art. Denying my art. I can't forgive these eyes. Seeing my art, these eyes don't even have the slightest sense of wonder. I can't forgive those eyes that ignore my art. Call. 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 Deidara, who was already badly injured, yelled into the air for a long time, making herself panting. In response to this, Qin Yu cast his lips in disdain and said, "What a boring trick. Be quiet." The scene fell into a weird silence for a while. 3 seconds later, Deidara burst out laughing wildly. "Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, Qin Yu, you really underestimated me. Unforgivable. But, you are lucky today, you will see my ultimate art." As Deidara said, he tore off his already torn jacket. After the jacket was torn off, the weird seal on Deidara's left chest was revealed. And at the very center of the seal, there are stitched lines. He put the left hand on his chest, and with his palm, he tore off the stitched lines. Suddenly, the sewn gap suddenly opened. A thick tongue came out from it. When Qin Yu saw Deida pull off his shirt, he suddenly thought of one thing. That is Akatsuki's law of undressing death, and this law is about to be confirmed. At this moment, Deidara had no fear at all. With a crazy smile on his face, his right hand slammed into his pocket, took out a large mass of clay, and sent it directly into the mouth of his left chest. Chi-chi, the weird voice suddenly sounded. Sure enough, the thing that made everyone's creeps was not over yet. The mouth on the chest. After eating all the large mass of explosive clay, a large number of black lines suddenly appeared on Deidara's body. Qin Yu knew that after Deidara had eaten the clay, it was directly mixed into the bottom chakra through the meridian system of the heart, so that all the meridians in the body were revealed. Even his face is covered with black meridians. This is my ultimate art. Next, I will blow myself up. Through death, I will become art itself. Using an explosion that has never been seen before, leaving an unprecedented scar on this land. Then, my art will be praised as never before. Big Brother Scorpion, I'm sorry. In your appreciation of me, you will definitely be blown to death. The range of the explosion is 10 kilometers in radius. Everything within the range of the explosion will directly sublimate. Qin Yu, are you not very strong? Let's take a gamble. Look at your space-time ninjutsu. Can you fly to a range of 10 kilometers? Your broken skeleton can withstand this degree of explosion. At this moment, Deidara, who was completely in madness, began to speak his farewell address impassionedly. Feel the fear. Amazing for me. Experience despair. Cry for help. My art is. This time, before he finished speaking, his body began to turn completely black until it disappeared. The chakra in his body was mixed with a large amount of detonating clay, and finally condensed into an extremely dark sphere. In front of the sphere, there is also a huge mouth. The mouth opened wide, revealing a crazy smile, conveying Deidara's final will. At this time, cracks began to appear on the surface of the sphere, and rays of light radiated from it. The whole air was filled with the smell of death. Obviously, there will be an earth-shattering explosion in the next moment. Qin Yu hooked the corner of his mouth, and then did an unbelievable operation. Seeing his eyes closed slightly, Suzuo Nengu who disappeared directly outside his body. I saw Chinyu instantaneously and came directly in front of the black sphere. Jia Jia Jia, die to me, burst. Deidara left his last words and is about to complete the final self-destruction. However, just before the explosion unfolded, Chinyu's eternal kaleidoscope writing wheel suddenly burst into a very strange light. Immediately afterwards, a powerful attraction came. The explosion of the black sphere seemed to have completely stalled. Moreover, the entire sphere was sucked into Chinyu's left eye uncontrollably. After a second, the world is completely calm again. The depressed atmosphere has completely disappeared. A powerful precursor to an explosion, as if it had never happened. This trick is Chinyu's kaleidoscope writing power called Tunny. The left eye is swallowing, which can absorb and save the enemy's attack in a kaleidoscope. The right eye is inverse, which can release the absorbed and saved attack again. Isn't there only one ability to write round eyes? But Chinyu is different. He obtained the writing wheel eyes through the system and the kaleidoscope writing wheel eyes opened through the system. Therefore, his writing wheel ability is more than twice that of others. Although the system is against the sky, this trick consumes a lot of chakra and pupil power. Moreover, the cooling time of this trick is also very long. Another problem is that this trick can only absorb ninjutsu, and has no effect on illusion and physical skills. After solving Deidara, Qin Yufeng shook the royal god robe behind him, and his figure disappeared instantly. When he appeared again, Qin Yu had already returned to the base of the Shao organization, beside Naruto. But at this time, the inside of the base is no longer what it was before. The ground was pitted by the explosion, and all kinds of messy things such as sand, iron, sand, etc. were scattered. At this time, the people on Konoha's side were not in a good state. Obviously, the combat effectiveness of the red sand scorpion is amazing. Without letting go of the water, he can fully display the strength of a high-level shadow class. With the hard work of Gaara, Kakashi and others, it was very difficult to fight off 3 generations of Feng Ying's puppets. Now, they have a bit of a force at the end. But the red sand scorpion on the opposite side seemed to have extra power. Seeing Qin Yu's return, Kakashi quickly asked, "Resolve?" Qin Yu shrugged and confidently said, "Is there any suspense when I shoot?" Kakashi rolled his eyes helplessly. You can never expect the man in front of you to be low-key. In fact, Kakashi felt bitter, and Qin Yu told him that the weakness of the red sand scorpion was right on his left chest. He even wanted to use the power of the kaleidoscope to write round eyes several times to forcibly move the chest of the red sand scorpion. However, the sand and iron of the 3 generations of Feng Ying is too good, and it keeps everything tight. Most of the time, Kakashi couldn't even see the body of the red sand scorpion. In the end, he cooperated with Gaara and managed to kill 3 generations of Feng Ying's puppets. As for Sakura and Naruto, they were 2 silly and unreliable ones. Weird Power and Big Jade Spiral Pill are stronger than they are. Unfortunately, without the help of Chiandai in the original book, they couldn't get close at all. Everyone was very pleased to see Qin Yu returning safely, and their faces showed excitement. More importantly, everyone has a backbone. However, the red sand scorpion on the opposite side has a completely different mood. Seeing Qin Yu who came back so soon, he was spotless. The heart of the red sand scorpion set off a stormy sea. Deidara, did he really die in the hands of this kid? No, even if it's dead, how could it be possible to die so soon? Deidara is not weak. The surprise of the red sand scorpion was not without reason. The battle between Qin Yu and Deidara was complicated, but in fact it was less than a quarter of an hour. Victory or defeat in such a short period of time, even birth and death, is too rare and rare in the battle of the shadow-level powerhouses. Especially, he is playing with explosions. How can this guy fight him unharmed? Even the clothes are spotless. Impossible, absolutely impossible. In an instant, many thoughts flashed through the heart of the red sand scorpion. In the end, he couldn't help but ask, Qin Yu is right. Where is that fool Deidara? Did he run away? The scorpion of red sand said, spitting, and then said, it must be like this. This fool thing, run away by himself at a critical moment. At this moment, the red sand scorpion seemed to have recognized the fact that Deidara had escaped. After all, there is a clay giant bird. No one can stop him even if he wants to run. Qin Yu glanced at Xie like a fool, then asked, "Why do you think he can escape in my hands?" "What do you mean?" The face of the red sand scorpion changed, and he had a vague premonition. "What do you mean?" Qin Yu shrugged and said, "It means that he has died in my hands." "Impossible." Upon hearing this, the red sand scorpion instantly changed his face and said, You fellow, how could you kill Deidara in such a short time?" "How can I explain it?" Qin Yu scratched his head pretentiously in distress, and then said, "Should it be said that he is too weak or I am too strong? It depends on how you understand it." "Humph." The scorpion of the red sand sneered and said, "The guy with the sharp teeth and the sharp mouth, I will never believe your nonsense." "Well, since you said that, then it seems that I need to take out his body and show it to you." Qin Yu shrugged. "I go." When Kakashi heard the words, the corners of his mouth twitched, and he said in disbelief, "Isn't it? You collected the corpse after you killed that person?" Qin Yu shrugged, and confirmed, "Of course." However, in the next second, he entangled and said to the red sand scorpion, "But forget it, the consequences of taking it out are a bit serious, you can't afford it." "Humph." The scorpion of the red sand snorted coldly, "When I am a 3-year-old child. Deidara really ran away. Why did you die in your hands? What a bragging." At this moment, the scorpion of the red sand was almost completely convinced that the Deidara was running away. "Whatever you think." Qin Yu shrugged and said directly, "I don't have to lie to you at all, especially I don't have to prove anything to you. Anyway, no matter what, you can't change the ending of your dying under my hands." "Humph." The red sand scorpion's face changed, and he said gloomily, "Qin Yu, I know you have some tricks, otherwise Itachi and Guiyu would not say that. But you can't keep me alone. Now, I will let you see my ultimate art." As the red sand scorpion said, he took out a brand new scroll. "Nani?" The expressions of Kakashi and Gaara changed at the same time, and then they said, "The 3 generations of Fengying just now are not his final means." Suddenly, deep fear rose in the hearts of the two of them. If it weren't for Qin Yu to rush back in time, I'm afraid we will be ill-advised. This Shao organization person is really too powerful. Ha ha. Qin Yu not only did not panic at all, he even wanted to laugh a little. "Ultimate art. It's really suitable for you two to be partners." After hearing the words, the scorpion of the red sand asked coldly, "What do you mean?" Qin Yu shrugged and said directly, "Well, that guy he just finished yelling about the ultimate art, and then he died. How do you think you are better than him?" "Humph." The red sand scorpion curled his lips disdainfully and said, "The explosion of that guy Deidara is also worthy of being art. Real art exists forever. Come out." Bang. A large swath of white smoke flashed, and it took a long time to disperse. Everyone looked up and saw that the scene on the opposite side had undergone an earth-shaking change. In midair, hundreds of puppets wearing red robes were suspended. Every puppet has a different form, and they are all equipped with strange weapons. "What a terrible guy." Tamari sighed in his heart and murmured, "Such a genius puppet master, if he had stayed in our sand." "All right." Gaara interrupted Tamari, and then calmly said, "This is an extremely dangerous character, and there is no need to have this illusion anymore. Furthermore, Master Puppet, you and I know very well that even if he is the scorpion of red sand, it is impossible to control so many puppets at the same time." Ha ha ha. The red sand scorpion on the other side laughed frantically and said, "How about Qin Yu? This is my ultimate art. Red Secret Skills 100 Machine Exercises. Everyone is a puppet. I can control each one as I want. I used this trick to slaughter a country solo. Qin Yu, how do you think you compare to a country?" A shocking and extraordinary voice uttered from the mouth of the red sand scorpion, and it was shocked for a while. When Kakashi and Gaara heard this, they were sweating directly on their backs. As for the two girls, Sakura and Tamari, they were also taken a step back by the scared scorpion of the red sand. "You know, the red sand scorpion slaughtered a country." "What is that?" "That is a country. Even if it is a small country, it can be slaughtered by a single person." Hearing this, who is not afraid? Of course, in addition to Qin Yu who was not afraid of everyone present, there was also Tien Naruto. Tihanen's Naruto is very nervous, so he is completely indifferent to what the red sand scorpion said. It can be said that there is no response. Destroy a country. You come to my country of fire to try. It's all blowing, and it's still blowing. Qin Yu said lightly. Oh, by the way, you don't have this chance. In this country of Sichuan, it will be your place of death. Humph. The scorpion of the red sand snorted directly when he heard the words, and then said, a guy who only talks about trash. The red sand scorpion didn't bother to talk to Qin Yu directly, because he knew that this kind of trash talk was definitely not Qin Yu's opponent. He directly began to manipulate these hundreds of puppets through the regenerative nuclear. In an instant, hundreds of puppets all moved under the control of the red sand scorpion. This wave of operations by the red sand scorpion instantly demonstrated its impressive strength. Seeing this, Kakashi's expression changed suddenly, and he said solemnly, this time the scene is not trivial. I have observed that the weapons of these puppets are different, and the methods of attack are unimaginable. Even Gaara, who was on the side, looked at the red sand scorpion with a serious face at this moment, and added, not only sharp blades, poisonous needles, but even rocket launchers. The most important thing is that this person he also has a deep knowledge in poison. That's right, if Sakura hadn't been there before, I'm afraid we have already said several times. Tamari also said softly. So, all of us must be careful. Kakashi turned to look at Qin Yu, and asked in a deep voice, Qin Yu, talk about your plan. How do we respond? How do we need to cooperate with you? Handle, cooperate. Qin Yu's expression suddenly became a little weird, and then he said weirdly, do you need this to deal with this pile of broken copper and iron? Broken copper and iron. When everyone heard this, they were all in a daze. Gaara thought that Qin Yu had never fought the scorpion of red sand, so he didn't know how powerful he was, so he prepared to persuade a few words, not brother-in-law. I know you are very strong, but... However, Gaara hadn't finished speaking yet, and a sharp voice came from his body, interrupting him. And the source of this voice is the voice of a Shuhei. Save it, I said, Fengyan kid, you are purely worrying about it. I love Luo Wenyan, just for a moment, and asked, what do you mean? Well, for you, these are extremely powerful puppets. With a lazy look, Shuhei said directly and slowly, but to this person, this is really a pile of broken copper and broken iron. Ah, is my brother-in-law really so strong? Gaara's expression suddenly became a little surprised. He didn't quite understand why the one-tailed Shuhei, who was a tailed beast, would be so confident of Qin Yu. Actually, this is no wonder Gaara. You know, when Qin Yu was showing his muscles with Yue Shuhei before, he was still in a coma, so he didn't know Qin Yu's whole cards. He didn't know, but Shuhei knew. Therefore, at this moment, Shuhei was determined in his heart, and said completely fearlessly, well. Watch it well, you will know soon. You have to know that the person in front of you is far stronger and much stronger than what you know now. As soon as he finished speaking, Yue Shuhei ignored him and lay down and watched the show. Seeing this, coupled with what Shuhei said just now, Gaara was stunned. After I got back to my senses, Gaara couldn't help turning his head to look at Qin Yu, his face full of disbelief. Brother-in-law, how strong are you to make Shuhei so jealous? However, Kakashi at this moment is not like Gaara. He is alone, and no one can remind him. Unlike Gaara, there is a show crane reminding me. Looking at the calm Qin Yu, Kakashiden felt tired to death for time, and said helplessly, I said, even if you look down on your opponent, you can talk about your plan anyway. However, Qin Yu said directly and rudely about this, my plan is to ignore these things directly, and just rush over and do it. What else needs to be done? Kakashi directly exploded on the spot. No, Kakashi had just finished his foul language, and was ready to say something, but he didn't know how to say it better. However, the red sand scorpion who was on the opposite side at this moment was irritated by Qin Yu's broken copper and rotten iron. You know, each of these puppets is his painstaking effort. The formation of each one is hard won. And the 100 machine performances made up of this are the ultimate art he is most proud of. However, his ultimate art was so slandered by Qin Yu, which made the red sand scorpion who was fascinated by puppet art extremely angry. Red sand scorpion's eyes were full of anger, and he vowed to make Qin Yu pay the price. He wants everyone to know that his art is above everything else. Your own art shocked everyone. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Rub, rub, rub. In an instant, hundreds of puppets performed by Beiji opened fire at the same time. All kinds of weapons are continuously activated. The poisonous needles, poisonous fog, shot at Chin Yu overwhelmingly. Nani? Seeing this situation, Kakashi was shocked. You know, the scale of the attack of the red sand scorpion this time is much stronger than the scale they had dealt with before. Under the control of the scorpion of red sand, hundreds of puppets acted at the same time. Under the deliberate control of the red sand scorpion, the battlefront was deliberately elongated because the puppet's attack angle was extremely wide. Not only on the front, but also on the side. Gaara was shocked when he saw this. Although he is still quite confident in his sand control skills, the chakra in his body is now somewhat insufficient. In desperation, Gaara could only call out to Shuhei, "Shuhei, chakra, lend me a favor. If I can use the power of Shuhei, Gaara is confident that I can withstand all these attacks outside." However, Shuhei lazily rolled his eyes and said, "Borrow a fart. If he is there, you still need to worry about it. You're the one who just rests honestly." You, seeing Shuhei's irresponsible, "I love Luoden" time a little annoyed. Be alert. Kakashi took out a handful of kunai and stood directly at the forefront of the team. As a Shangren, he has the courage and sense of responsibility. However, his ninjutsu is also very limited, and there is no good way to deal with these overwhelming things. In this attack, there are many attacks from the side blind corners, even if it is useless to release the wall. As for our Tihan and Naruto, there is no fear at this moment. Sakura clenched her fists nervously. Only Teju stood calmly beside Chin Yu. In her eyes, as long as this man is there, there is nothing terrible. Looking at the nervous crowd, Chin Yu shook his head and said, "No future." In the next second, his eyes closed slightly, and then suddenly opened. "I'm coming." At this moment, Gaara's body once again heard the voice of Shuhei. The voice was full of excitement and even more fear. "What's coming?" Gaara asked inexplicably. "Let's take a look." Shuhei didn't answer, and said lightly. In the next second, in Chin Yu's body, a huge chakra suddenly surged out. In a blink of an eye, these chakras condensed into a huge purple cyan skeleton. As soon as the purple cyan skeleton man appeared, he wrapped Chin Yu tightly in it. More than that, the huge body extended outwards, protecting all the people around him. Ding, 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 boom, boom, boom. A series of poisonous needles hit Suzuo Nengu, and fell directly to the ground without any effort. A large swath of ***** hit the Suzuo Nohu and exploded directly, but it was completely unable to cause the slightest impact on the Suzuo Nohu. What is this? Seeing the purple cyan skeleton man suddenly appeared, everyone was shocked. Especially Tai Hanhan's Naruto. At this moment, he is very curious looking at Suzuo Nengu. Is this the brother-in-law's method? Gaara looked at Suzuo in shock and said, "How can it be so powerful?" Humph. A Shuhei inside Gaara snorted coldly, then curled his lips and said, "The power of those evil eyes." Evil eyes. I love Luo Wenyan was taken aback, then turned his head to look at Chin Yu. At this look, Gaara saw those eyes with infinite magic power. As for Kakashi looking at the glasses in Chin Yu's eyes, he was also slightly taken aback. This is the time. Seeing Gaara and Kakashi looking at him, Chin Yu didn't say anything, just glanced at Kakashi and Gaara. Inevitably, at this moment, if it is said that the most shocking, it must be the red sand scorpion on the opposite side. He stared blankly at the purple cyan skeleton giant that suddenly appeared on the opposite side, shocked in his heart. What power? The scorpion of red sand thought that the first wave of attacks he launched would at least knock down half of the people on the opposite side. However, he never expected that he would fail to make any achievements. The reason for the lack of success was that his offense was completely blocked by the big guy in front of him. How is it? Red sand scorpion. Chin Yu looked at the scorpion of the red sand with a faint smile. Is this your ultimate art? Chin Yu's words were full of strong sarcasm. When the red sand scorpion heard this, it was furious on the spot. He isn't actually a hot temper, and he doesn't care much about his opponent's ridicule and rubbish. However, he must not tolerate others belittling his puppet art. Don't take advantage of your tongue. The scorpion of the red sand stared at Chin Yu tightly, and said coldly, "Die me." After the scorpion of the red sand had finished speaking, he madly launched the regenerating nuclear Through the power of regenerative nuclear, the red sand scorpion controlled the puppet in the air and rushed directly to Suzuo Nangu. A personal puppet opened his teeth and danced his claws, manipulating all kinds of weapons, and charged up towards Chinyu in a fierce manner. Knives, axes, saws, and other messy weapons attacked Susanoo from all angles. However, Suzuo Nang is so tough. No matter how the puppet attacks, Suzuo Nangu is not moved at all. Chinyu looked at the red sand scorpion and said mockingly, "Are you at this level?" Even at this moment, even Sakura was not nervous anymore. This big purple cyan guy outside looks very reliable. Huh, how long can you hold on? As a shadow rank powerhouse, the red sand scorpion had very vicious eyes. Looking at the trick Chinyu displayed, through experience and guessing, such a powerful trick must consume a lot of money. Therefore, this ninjutsu can never last. In fact, his analysis is correct at all. Suzuo can be strong, but its consumption of chakra and pupil power is very huge. You know, even Sasuke can't last long before he awakens the eternal kaleidoscope riding round eye. However, the red sand scorpion still miscalculated. For Chinyu, chakra is not a problem at all. With the physique of an immortal body, his chakra has already grown to an astonishing level. As for pupil power consumption, sorry, for the eternal kaleidoscope opened by the system, you can do whatever you want. Ha ha, Chinyu smiled and said, "I think there should be no problem at all if you persist until you die." Tisk tisk. Hearing Chinyu's so charming words, Shuhei and Gaara couldn't help but sigh. As expected, he is a person who can possess those two powers at the same time. This poisonous tongue ability is so fresh and refined. Gaara also said with deep conviction, "Really? It has been improving all the time and has never been surpassed." "Humph, you're stupid." Shuhei curled his lips and said, "I have been in your body all the time, and I know what happened next to you. Including how your brothers slumped repeatedly, and finally how they were forced to work for others." Quote. "Oh, I forgot." Hearing that, I loved Luo Duntime and laughed blankly. Speaking of the embarrassment that year, his heart is also a little embarrassed. Shuhei seemed to be aware of his thoughts, waved his big paw and said, "Ha ha ha, kid, don't need to think too much. You should be thankful that although that person is a rogue, he is not a bad person. At the same time, you should be more fortunate that he doesn't seem to be very hostile to you." Quote. "That's true, I discovered it 3 years ago." Gaara nodded in agreement. "Fortunately, I didn't offend him to death at the time, otherwise, if I were to be an enemy of such a person, it would really be the sadness of the whole Shan." Hearing this, he rolled his eyes and said, "Don't be nonsense." After finishing speaking, he immediately spit out to Gaara, "What you said is secondary. For you, what you should be most thankful for is that you have a good sister." Quote. Gaara suddenly suffocated, dull and speechless. As for the red sand scorpion, after listening to Chinyu's words at this moment, the whole person was completely mad. "Ha, smelly kid, it's just a harder tortoise shell. What's so crazy? Even if I can't help you, you can't help me." Upon hearing this, Chinyu smiled and said, "Ha ha." Chinyu didn't refute, only to see him, the next second, Suzuo Nengu's two big hands stretched forward at the same time. A strange wave came, and a huge chakra knife appeared in the palm of his hand out of thin air. Kang! Almost at the same time, Suzuo's sword was unsheathed in an instant, and it was straight out with a cross cut. This cross cut can be described as unpretentious, but his power is extraordinary. A dazzling purple light flashed away, almost blinding everyone's eyes. Nani! The scorpion of the red sand knew that it was not good the moment the sword was out of its sheath, and hurriedly controlled a crowd of puppets to retreat. But how exaggerated is Susao's body shape? Chinyu Shuzuo Nengu's blade speed is also very fast. The retreat of the red sand scorpion is too late. At that instant, dozens of human puppets were cut into 2 pieces and turned into waste products. Chinyu killed dozens of puppets that he made with painstaking effort, and the hearts of the red sand scorpion were bleeding. His eyes turned red in an instant. It's not just anger, it's more shock. The scorpion of the red sand claims to be the #1 puppet master in the ninja world, and his talent with puppets can even be said to be unprecedented. And the puppets he produced are definitely far more robust than ordinary puppets. But even so, in front of the big knife, it was still as fragile as a piece of tofu, and it was cut open in an instant. The cut just now left a very deep impression on the red sand scorpion. What the hell is this trick? Why is it so powerful? The scorpion of the red sand kept roaring in his heart. Why is there such a change of moves? The defense is so strong, even the attack is so outrageous. However, Chin Yu would not give him time to continue sighing. Suzuo Nohu's right hand flipped over, and Suzuo's sword immediately swung at the puppets again. Su Sao slashed through the air and let out a whistling wind. The scorpion of the red sand was shocked immediately, and quickly recovered. Then he hurriedly manipulated his baby puppet to continue to retreat. This time, because of the length, Su Sao cut his loneliness. However, this time it was not completely futile. At least, it caused great psychological pressure on the opponent. The red sand scorpion looked at his baby puppet without any damage this time, and he was immediately relieved. But in the next second, he hurriedly raised his spirits again. Because the opponent he faces now is not only extremely powerful, but also very cunning. It can be said that since his debut, he has encountered the most dangerous opponent. If one is careless, he must be recruited. Therefore, he must bring up the spirit of 120. Oh, you can hide it. Chin Yu looked at the red sand scorpion with a smile and mocked. However, this broken base is so big, where can you hide again? Humph. The scorpion of the red sand snorted coldly, and then stopped talking nonsense with Chin Yu, just thinking about the countermeasures inwardly. Ha ha, stop talking. Chin Yu hooked the corner of his mouth provocatively and said, do you think I can't do anything with you like this? Okay. Hearing this, the red sand scorpion suddenly became nervous again. Chin Yu's pupils moved slightly, and Suzuo Nengu's empty left hand suddenly swung, and the breastplate in front of Suzuo Nengu suddenly opened. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. In the next second, from the opened breastplate, countless purple cyan chakra arrows slammed into the group of puppets on the opposite side. The arrows are overwhelming and dense. Puff, puff, puff. The speed of the arrow is too fast, plus the coverage area is too wide. Moreover, the range of the puppets controlled by the red sand scorpion is also very wide. Almost without aiming, it is easy to shoot. In an instant, nearly 100 puppets were recruited. Moreover, the power of these arrows is also very impressive, much stronger than Chidori Chiban. In addition, those puppets had hundreds of arrows in their bodies, and they were seriously damaged. Suddenly, dozens of other puppets became waste products. At this point, there are only half of the more than 200 puppets of the red sand scorpion, 100 opportunities, at this moment. Looking at the many puppets who had been scrapped again, the face of the red sand scorpion was very ugly. However, some people have to sprinkle salt on the wound, and this person is Chin Yu. How about, red sand scorpion? Don't your puppet masters like playing with these hidden weapons? How about my hidden weapons? You. The scorpion of the red sand was so angry that he almost spewed a mouthful of blood on the spot. At this moment, he would like to ask, can this thing of yours be called a hidden weapon? Can hidden weapons have such power? Can I destroy my puppet? At this moment, he even had a slight doubt about his puppet art. Because Mao's own puppet is so vulnerable in front of his opponent. It seems that it can be destroyed by any means. The heart of the red sand scorpion was full of powerlessness. Chin Yu's opponent was too powerful, whether it was a defense or an attack, he completely crushed him. At this moment, he suddenly remembered a comment made by the dry persimmon ghost shark evaluating Chin Yu. That person, whether it's chakra volume, ninjutsu, illusion or physique, is absolutely top-notch. He also masters the unpredictable time and space ninjutsu. Fight against him, and you will find that he is like a bottomless pit, always has a whole card. You can never see his depth. Only then did the red sand scorpion really understand. What Guiyu said is right, it's really not an exaggeration. At the same time, he also understood at this time how outrageous he and Dedera were at fault. If you can hear the ghost shark in Itachi, if you retreat as soon as possible. This thought involuntarily came up in the heart of the red sand scorpion. Unfortunately, there is no if. The scorpion of the red sand fell into a weird autism, and Chin Yu did not take the opportunity to attack. For him now, this is not necessary at all. He was standing in Suzuo Nangu, looking flatly at the red sand scorpion opposite. The scorpion of the red sand suddenly raised his head and faced Chin Yu's extremely calm eyes. Maybe it was because he lost a loved one since he was a child, so he became extremely sensitive. At this moment, the red sand scorpion clearly saw a deep contempt in Chin Yu's eyes. Contempt for his puppet art. Suddenly, a fire of ignorance rose from my heart. What is the look in your eyes? How dare to despise my puppet art so much? The cold and deep voice of the red sand scorpion suddenly sounded in the cold bass. Unforgivable, Chin Yu, even if you die today, I will definitely want you to pay the price. Chin Yu smiled when he heard the words, and then said to the red sand scorpion on the opposite side, only you. What other means, just use it. After all, if you don't make a move, you may never have a chance. Tisk tusk. Kakashi shook his head helplessly. Out of caution, he wanted to persuade Chin Yu to make a quick fight. But if you think about it, forget it, this guy has never heard of him. After hearing Chin Yu's words, the face of the red sand scorpion became more gloomy. Boom. 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 There was a sound of heavy objects falling to the ground. When everyone looked up, they saw 100, surviving, puppets originally floating in the sky. At this moment, it seemed to have lost its support and all fell to the ground. Under the gaze of everyone, the red sand scorpion quickly pulled out a new scroll from behind. Afterwards, his palms stretched out flat, aiming at Chin Yu far away. The palm of the red sand scorpion changed slightly, and it was no longer visible that it was a human palm. In the center of the two palms, there is an output interface. However, everyone is a bit far away. In the middle, there were still many puppets blocking them, so they didn't notice these details. Bang! Almost instantly, the incomparable flame of the mad star erupted from the palm of the red sand scorpion. The flames spit out frantically, and then swept across to Suzuo Nohu, who was on the opposite side. It is the ultimate move that the scorpion of red sand uses with the scroll of fire, Flame Prison Array. The power of the flame is extremely strong, and in the middle of the journey, even many of his own puppets were instantly burned into a piece of scrap. However, at this moment, the scorpion of the red sand, which is close to madness, does not care. He has only one belief now, that is, that Chin Yu must pay the price. He does not allow anyone to underestimate his puppet art. Boom! The flame is not only wide in scope, but also powerful, and even the speed is extremely fast. Almost instantly, the flame arrived in front of Susanoo. However, Susanoo's defensive power is not covered, and these flames are firmly isolated from the outside. However, it can still be seen that the effect of this attack is much stronger than the previous puppet attack. Chin Yu had read the original work, but he knew that the red sand scorpion was very spicy. In order to pursue the art of puppets, the eternal ultimate, he even changed himself into a puppet. Seeing that the flame was blocked, the red sand scorpion instantly changed its attack mode. I saw that the original large-scale flame disappeared, and in a blink of an eye it condensed into a small direct flame. The flame quickly pierced towards Suzuo Nangu. Not good. Kakashi's expression changed at the moment the flame's attack method changed. With rich combat experience, he immediately noticed the danger. The previous large-scale flame attack looked shocking. But in fact, the power is very limited, and it can't pose any real threat to Suzuo. However, this form is different now. The precise linear flame attack, all the power is compressed into one point, it is really possible to break Susanoo. Bah! Sure enough, the direct flame hit Suzuo Nangu instantly. The originally indestructible Suzuo Nangu made a sound of being burned, and there were faint signs of being broken. Not good. Gaara's expression also changed, and his posture must urge the sand to assist in defense. Shuhei in his body instantly noticed his thoughts, and waved his paw too lazily. Save it, if even this thing is shot through, then your sand is even less likely to be useful. Hearing this, Gaara said angrily, then we can't just sit still. Sit and wait. Shuhei directly rolled his eyes and said, what are you thinking about, kid? You are too underestimating the power of the kaleidoscope to write round eyes, where is this? Okay. Hearing Shuhei's words, Gaara suddenly asked in a daze, where is this? Isn't this the full strength of my brother-in-law? Of course not, how could it be? One Shozuru snorted, and then said with great interest, look at it honestly, the real means will appear soon. When Shuhei said so, Gaara swallowed, and there was a strong expectation in my heart. Among the crowd, only Chin-Yu was the most calm. Seeing Suzuo Nengu who was showing signs of rupture, Chin-Yu's mouth twitched. It's interesting. I didn't expect you, a puppet player, to bring me such a surprise. Humph. The face of the red sand scorpion was full of madness and said, die to me. Seeing the signs of Suzuo Nengu's rupture, the red sand scorpion had a strong expectation. He desperately activated the chakra in the regenerating nuclear, constantly strengthening the intensity of the flame. Haha, you have already used the strength of breastfeeding. Chin-Yu said jokingly, but I was just warming up just now. Regarding this, the red sand scorpion didn't believe it at all, and shouted, huh. Don't pretend to be me. However, before he finished roaring, a loud noise came suddenly. Boom. The pupils of the red sand scorpion shrank suddenly, and abruptly stopped what he wanted to say. I saw that the opposite Suzuo Nengu, who was originally only a few meters away, suddenly rose tens of meters, like a giant in the sky. The exaggerated height directly pierced the roof of Akatsuki's organization base. Not only that, the original thin skeleton appearance is now covered with thick armor. It looks like it is indestructible. The previous Susao Nohu, there were signs of being shot through, but now, this sign has completely disappeared. Even the direct flame of incomparable strength can't shake it anymore. Chapter 91. This is. Several other people in Suzuo Nenguli looked at the giant armor giant outside, and fell directly into a sluggishness. Only Kakashi exhaled all sorts of breaths, knowing that he knows the current state of Susao. Looking at Susao's appearance, Gaara muttered, is this the real strength of brother-in-law? Humph. Shuhei grinned and said, otherwise, what do you think? I was really just warming up just now. You thought he was talking about sorrow, but you don't know that what people said is the truth. What? Listening to Shuhei's words, Gaara's mouth twitched. After all, she was speechless. However, the shock brought by the complete body must be more than that. Not only Shuhei reacted, but even the nine tails in Naruto's body had changed. This kid, how can he have such a tyrannical power? It's almost close to Uchiha Madara. This kind of eyes with evil power has appeared again. It's even worse than that Uchiha Madara. I hope he won't provoke the old man. The two front paws of nine tails in Naruto's body crossed on the ground, and a trace of fear flashed through the fierce fox pupils. The powerful Suzuo was almost completely physically, and it shocked everyone. But if you want to say that the visual impact is the strongest, the heart is the most shocking, it must be the red sand scorpion on the opposite side. In front of the giant Susanna armor tens of meters away, he only felt that he was small as a dust. His straight line of flame attack could no longer shake Suzuo no more. Looking at Suzuo, the scorpion of the red sand swallowed with difficulty, what kind of trick is this? Did the god come to the world? How could, so strong? How about, red sand scorpion? Chin-Yu hooked his mouth and said, now, do you still think you can make me pay the price? The scorpion of the red sand was very aggrieved in his heart, but now he was ridiculed again, even more furious. What? I saw him shout, and then quickly took out a new scroll from his back. Puff! A strange sound rang out, and the flame was extinguished on the palm pipe of the red sand scorpion. In turn, an extremely slender column of water spurted out from the pipe. It is another trick of the red sand scorpion, eroding silicon. This time, the red sand scorpion did not directly stab forward, but raised his hands above his head first. The powerful water column soars into the sky instantly. The roof of Akatsuki's organization base was directly pierced. Even the clouds above the sky were instantly cut off, showing its power. Immediately afterwards, the arms of the red sand scorpion began to tilt downward continuously. Bah! The strong corrosiveness, coupled with the extremely condensed water column, caused the base of the base to be cut open directly. Bah! 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 Finally, the corrosive water column, which seemed to be unbreakable, cut onto the huge Suzuo Nohu. There was a sound of corrosion, Suzuo was corroded, and a little mist appeared on his shoulders. However, we have not waited for these water columns to go further. The originally corroded Suzuo Nengu has been automatically repaired again. Suddenly, the two formed a deadlock. No matter how crazily the red sand scorpion increases the output of chakra, the water column can no longer make any progress. Ha ha, Qin Yu sneered and said, is there only this level? It seems that you can't bring me new surprises. Then, you can go to death. Kang, Su Sao is out of the sheath again. Because Susanoo has grown a lot, and even his big sword has grown a lot. Even at the current position, it is enough to get the red sand scorpion on the opposite side. Su Sao slashed through the air, making a clear buzzing sound. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. The red sand scorpion was so scared that his pupils suddenly shrank, and hurriedly stopped the water flow and flashed to the side. Bang! Su Sao slashed with a big sword, making a loud noise. Rao was the scorpion of the red sand dodge fast enough, but he was rubbed a little by the sharp knife. The right arm was cut in half on the spot. Unfortunately, he had transformed himself into a puppet, so no blood flowed out. Base. Qin Yu waved his hand casually, and Suzuo's broad sword cut across and slashed towards the scorpion of red sand again. Oops. Red sand scorpion's face changed drastically. This time, Dadao was too close to him, and he had no time to dodge. The originally huge Suzuo's broadsword continued to enlarge in the pupils of the red sand scorpion. Death is constantly approaching. At this moment, an eager old voice suddenly came from the side, wait a minute. However, Qin Yu's broadsword never stopped because of someone stopping it. What's more, even if you want to stop at this time, you can't do it at all. Whoosh! A black shadow quickly passed by, quickly blocking the path of the big sword. However, there is no use for eggs. This black shadow was as fragile as tofu in front of Suzuo, it was cut in half directly. Su Sao's power remained undiminished, and even the direction did not change in any way, and he slashed straight to the left chest of the red sand scorpion. That is the position of his regenerating nuclear, and his biggest weakness. Bang! Finally, in full view, Suzuo's sword fell on the red sand scorpion. The regenerative core on the left chest was blasted by Suzuo's big sword on the spot. The pupils of the red sand scorpion shrank, and his vitality began to fade. But before he died, he looked straight to the other side. There, an old figure rushed towards him quickly. Grandmother. The scorpion of the red sand murmured this sentence, completely devoid of life. Scorpion. The Gandai who rushed in was stricken with canthus, and his voice was full of sorrow. Scorpion. Looking at the corpse of his grandson in front of him, the old lady of the 1,000 generations burst into tears. How could she not see the details of the red sand scorpion, who had also reached the pinnacle in the way of puppets? Looking at the grandson who transformed himself into a puppet, Chio's eyes flashed with self-blame. Looking at the hundreds of human puppets scattered nearby, and the most conspicuous 3 generations of Fengyiang puppets, Chio was even more shocked. Scorpion, how are you? The grandmother Qiandai couldn't control her emotions, and she cried bitterly while holding the corpse of the red sand scorpion. Seeing that the battle was over, Qin Yu scattered away from Suzuo Nengu outside. Seeing Chio appearing suddenly, Tamari couldn't help but whispered, Igara, I really didn't expect this adult to come out of the customs in person. Yup, Gara nodded in agreement and said, in recent years, her biggest wish for the elderly is to look at her grandson again. It's a pity now. Seeing this, Kakashi asked with some doubts, who is this person? She is our Cheyenne hidden world consultant, Gandai mother-in-law. Gara replied softly, it's also the grandmother of the red sand scorpion. Tamari went on to say, Sajin must have received the psychic dog you sent, so I found it here. It's just that we didn't expect that this adult would come in person. It seems that Cheyenne must have learned of the existence of the red sand scorpion from the murderer who captured Gara. Kakashi nodded and said, that's how it is. Tamari. Gara called out, let me go and take a look. Tamari nodded heavily and said, okay. The siblings walked slowly to Gandai's side. Gara bowed slightly towards Qiandai and said, the kid is incompetent and kidnapped by the enemy. He even bothered you to run this trip. Gandai just lowered his head and wept without answering. Humph. At this time, one of Gara's body suddenly said, Fengyiang kid, if I remember correctly, it was this old lady who advocated sealing this uncle in your body at the beginning. Don't you hate her at all? Hated before, Gara said lightly. I don't hate it now. I don't even hate my father anymore, let alone an old man who is dedicated to the development of Saranan village. Perhaps, if I hadn't become Renjuli, I won't be funging now. This is my life, but also my responsibility. Jia Jia Jia. The monster Shuhei smiled and said, "You little devil, you have changed a lot from before." Seeing that Gondai had not spoken, Tamari persuaded him softly, "Master Gondai, this person is no longer the grandson you remembered, and I hope you will be happy." Gondai still didn't speak, just holding the body of the red sand scorpion sluggishly. For a long time, she murmured, "Scorpion, it's grandma, sorry to you, but I didn't protect you, take care of you. Today, I must save you." After she said this, she seemed to have made up her mind completely, and her expression became firm. Gently lowering the body of the scorpion, Chio turned around and made a move that shocked everyone. Bang! I saw that she actually knelt heavily in front of Gaara. Gaara was taken aback when he saw this, and then he was about to lift him up and said, "Mother-in-law, you are Master Fungiying." Gondai said heavily, "I will apologize to you on behalf of my grandson, and to Sha Renan. This child assassinated 3 generations of adults and took away you, the 5th generation Fungiying. It is really sinful." "Ah, this." Gaara waved his hand and said, "He is dead now, and it can be regarded as a grievance, you don't have to blame yourself too much." "Do not." Gondai shook his head heavily and said, "I want to say. Old man, I beg you to forgive him." "Forgive him." Good, good. Gaara hurriedly said, "I have forgiven him, get up quickly." "Really?" Gondai clung to Gaara's sleeve tightly, and a hint of surprise flashed in his old eyes. "Of course it's true." Gaara nodded. "Great." Gondai was overjoyed. Then he turned his head and whispered to the corpse of the red sand scorpion, "Scorpion, did you hear that? Master Fungiying forgive you. Grandma, save you now." Seeing this, Tamari said dazedly, "Mr. Kai Dai, you must be sorry, he is really dead." The mother-in-law Gandai didn't turn her head back, and said faintly, "The old man has studied for many years, and finally let me research a secret technique, even the dead can come back to life." Nani? Gaara and Tamari were surprised. The eyes of the two were full of curiosity about this secret technique and the desire for rebirth. Resurrect the dead. Is this really okay? Seeing the two of them so confused, Chio replied directly without looking back, "The old man said it was okay, it must be okay." Her shriveled hands gently rubbed the face of the red sand scorpion, as if she wanted to engrave his appearance firmly in her heart. Tamari thought about it for a while, then suddenly reacted and asked, "Mother-in-law, what price must be paid for this kind of technique?" "Ha ha." Gondai smiled and said, "Of course we need to pay a price to reverse life and death. However, it's not a big price." Tamari and Gaara were relieved when they heard this. However, Chio's next words shocked everyone again. "But it's just for the life of me, the old and undead." "Nani?" Iluo raised an eyebrow, and immediately refused, "Mother-in-law Gandai. This is absolutely Master Fungiying." Gandai waved his hand and said, "You don't need to persuade, I have decided. I've lived such a long time, even if I don't die today, how long can I live? It's better to exchange my grandson's life with my dying body, hoping that he can repent and reform. But Tamari has been around for a long time, and I don't know how to persuade it." Gaara frowned, not knowing how to persuade him. "Humph." Kazuo Morizuru suddenly sneered and said, "I didn't expect this pesky old woman to have such a tender side. But Xiao Fungiying, you can't persuade her to persuade her. Instead of doing this, it's better to do her a favor." Hearing this, Gaara asked in surprise, "How can I help?" "Humph." Shuhei snorted coldly. "One or two are idiots. She thought that if she could ask for your forgiveness, she would be able to resurrect her grandson with peace of mind. Even if she was resurrected, what would happen to that person would be able to reunite the two of them underground directly." Gaara was shocked, and reacted on the spot and asked, "You mean brother-in-law? HMPH, you think it's not a good stubbornness? Without first obtaining his consent, resurrecting this puppet kid at will is purely a mess." Iluo nodded heavily, and said awakely, "I understand." Gaara listened to Shohei's words and hurriedly whispered a few words to the mother-in-law Gandai. "Fungiying, you." Gandai's eyes widened suddenly. She probably didn't expect that she would have to get the consent of a Konoha imp to resurrect her grandson. But as soon as she recalled the giant armored giant that passed through the sky and her puppet that was split instantly, a deep fear flashed through her heart. After Gondai wanted to understand, he sighed and said, "Oh, nothing. Now, what else can be done besides bowing your head?" Tamari and Gaara helped Gondai to come to Chinyu. Qiandai's gaze had been staring at Chinyu's face, as if he wanted to see his depth. Seeing that the atmosphere was a little embarrassing, Tamari hurriedly spoke for him. After some explanation, Chinyu laughed dumbly. It turned out that they were worried that after the red sand scorpion was resurrected, they would kill it again. Thinking too much, there is no deep hatred between me and him. Even if there are some holidays and people are dead, the grievances will be cleared. As for whether he will be resurrected again, that has nothing to do with me. However, I said the ugly thing ahead. If he is still stubborn after his resurrection, then don't blame me for making another move. Ha ha. Qiandai smiled when he heard the words, a strange color flashed in his eyes, and then couldn't help sighing. Konoha makes dragons. In the early years, the first generation of Naruto and Uchiha Madara came out, and then the White Fang Sannin came out, and then the fourth generation of Naruto came out, and now there is Chinyu. Everyone is the best of the same generation. I really envy the old. In the words of Gondai, there is a deep envy and helplessness. Compared to Konoha, who has come up with outstanding talents and brilliant talents, they can be described as poor and innocent. Finally, 3 generations of Fungying came out, as well as his grandson, a genius puppet master. It turned out to be good, and he defected. Comparing the two is simply incomparable. Chinyu smiled after hearing Qiandai's words, and then said seriously, old seniors don't have to be arrogant. However, based on Chinyu's, this is not in line with his personality. Sure enough, Chinyu just finished speaking and continued to say, although you don't have many talents in Sharon Village, you can have beautiful women. As Chinyu said, he took Temari's hand in a shameless manner, and then grabbed it in his hand. It was like this in the public, and his face blushed. After a few symbolic resistances, he blushed and lowered his head. Let Chinyu hold it. At this moment, Rao Qiandai lived such a long time and was used to seeing all kinds of big worlds, but still felt that he could not keep up with Chinyu's brain circuit. What kind of evildoer is this? Qiandai looked at Chinyu's body once, and suddenly became a little relieved. Unexpectedly, Tamari had such a good eye, and he could actually keep up with this guy. It seems that Sand Shinobu's generation is stable. Before, he was uncomfortable with the person who married Ju to Konoha, but now he was suddenly relieved. He felt that this choice of Tamari was so wise. Thinking about this, Chio stretched out his shriveled right hand and patted Tamari's shoulder with profound meaning. Qiandai didn't say anything to Chinyu, then turned around and walked towards the red sand scorpion opposite. Several other people were also curious about the technique that could reverse life and death, and they followed one after another. Then, everyone saw Kandai quickly took out 2 scrolls from his arms. Bang! A cloud of white smoke came out of the scroll on the left, and 2 puppets of a man and a woman were channeled out. These 2 puppets are the father and mother puppets made by the red sand scorpion when he was a child. Bang! There was a puff of white smoke from the scroll on the right, and 10 strange-shaped puppets also appeared on the field. At this time, Qiandai had already put his palms together. The azure chakra formed a circle in her palm. And this is the forbidden technique that has finally succeeded after years of research in the Qiandai, self-reincarnation. She knelt down and pressed her hands to the red sand scorpion on the ground. Chio's expression was calm, and he kept confessing something in his mouth. Master Fungying, this resurrection, the old man will completely erase the body of the puppet of the scorpion, and give him a brand new body to make him live again. Please tell him on behalf of the old man that the real puppet art lies in the soul of the puppet master, rather than erasing the soul and completely turning yourself into a cold puppet. And the puppet is a wrong attempt and a wrong path. Without a puppet, the scorpion is still the most genius and powerful puppet master in the ninja world. I will use the puppets made by his parents, as well as my 10 people near song, to leave him, so that he can carry forward the puppet way. Take him back to Sand Ninja. Let him contribute his strength to Sand Ninja, to redeem the sins of the year. 1,000 generations of mother-in-law. Gaara and Tamari heard this, both of them choked up. However, this time, Chio didn't reply. She just looked at the red sand scorpion on the ground kindly, and muttered, "Little scorpion, hope that grandma's death can awaken your frozen soul, and hope that you can reform and stand on the pinnacle of Puppet Road again." Quote, "Little scorpion, if you can, grandma really wants to talk to you." Finally, the blue light suddenly flourished. Chio couldn't speak anymore, and immediately lost his vitality with his head drooping. At the same time, all his chakras and vitality were introduced into the body of the red sand scorpion. 1,000 generations mother-in-law. Seeing Chio losing all his vitality, Tamari and Gaara wailed at the same time. However, in the next second, the red sand scorpion on the ground suddenly opened his eyes. Chiandai lost all vitality, her body lost support, and she fell straight into the arms of the red sand scorpion. Grandmother. The red sand scorpion who had come back from the dead didn't know what had happened before, but seeing Chio fall into his arms lifelessly, his pupils shrank suddenly. The heart that hadn't felt anything for many years suddenly felt painful. "It's you." The scorpion of the red sand stared at Chin-Yu suddenly, his eyes were full of blood, and he said sharply, "You killed her. Isn't it enough for you to kill me? Why kill an old man like her? Idiot." Chin-Yu rolled his eyes in disdain, and didn't bother to care about him. The scorpion of the red sand immediately became extremely angry, and on the spot, he would use the regenerative nuclear control puppet to attack Chin-Yu. However, he was shocked to find that the regenerating nucleus in his body had disappeared at this moment. And his puppet body, now also disappeared. What happened? At this time, the red sand scorpion was a little shocked, and immediately murmured, "Wait, no, I am clearly dead, now this is." Ah! Gaara sighed heavily when he saw this. After that, he told Chio how to give up his life for righteousness and rescue him, and told the scorpion of the red sand this. After listening to what Gaara said, the scorpion of the red sand was stunned, tears streaming down uncontrollably. Grandmother. He held the cold body of Gandai and wept bitterly. I was wrong, Grandma. Why did you save me, such a sinful person? Why do you want me to come back to life again?" The red sand scorpion's emotions were very out of control. Seeing this, Chin-Yu sneered, and whispered, "Trash. She saved you because you are her grandson. She hopes that you will live up to her expectations, be a new person, and become a real puppet master with a soul." Chin-Yu's utterly loud words hit the heart of the red sand scorpion. Be a real puppet master with a soul. The scorpion of the red sand muttered. In the original dull and blurred gaze, he regained his luster. I saw his right fist clenched tightly, and a fist hit the rock next to it. Bang! The stone burst instantly, and blood dripped from his hand. His face twitched, because he felt the pain. This is something he hasn't felt for many years. Since he turned himself into a puppet, he will not bleed or pain no matter what kind of damage he receives. It was only at this moment that he realized again that he was a living person with flesh and blood. The red sand scorpion gently brushed Chio's eyes with his hand, closing her eyelids. Grandma, I know I was wrong. I will inherit your will, guard Sand Ninja Village, and become a real puppet master again. After Scorpion finished speaking, he took out a scroll from his body, and then respectfully sealed Gandai's body in it. After that, the father and mother, and the 10 people in Jinsong, were sealed again on the scrolls, and they were solemnly carried on the body. After doing all this, he bowed respectfully to Gaara, and asked in a somewhat awkward manner, Master Funying, I don't know the current Sand Ninja, and I will not accept me as a sinful person. Close. Gaara looked very happy, patted the red sand scorpion hard on the shoulder and said, welcome back. Tamari also smiled and said, Senior Scorpion, welcome home. Seeing that they both accept themselves sincerely, the scorpion of red sand also seemed a little happy. Afterwards, he solemnly took off the ring inscribed with the word, Jade, on his left hand, and threw it into the distance. From then on, there will be no more Jade Lady of Dawn, only the red sand scorpion of Cheyenne. Seeing this situation, Chin Yu announced with a big wave of his hand, well, since the matter is over, then I declare that the mission of Class 7 has been successfully completed. Next, go back to each house and find each mother. As soon as Chin Yu finished speaking, he hugged Kakashi and the others to leave. Everyone was shown by his operation. Ahem. Gaara coughed, and then said, Brother-in-law, what about it? When will my sister go back to the sand and gather together? When Chin-yu heard the words, his eyes twitched, and then he said, this one will go if you have time. Oh. Gaara smiled awkwardly. Seeing this, Chin-yu suddenly waved his hand and said, don't worry, it's all a family. From now on, you guys will bear with me. What's the matter with my brother-in-law? Gaara seemed very happy when Chin-yu said this, and as for Temari, it was also full of happiness. The red sand scorpion on the side snorted a little dissatisfiedly at this time. HMPH. We will deal with Shirenen's affairs by ourselves in the future. I will help Feng Ying to make Sand Shinobu more and more prosperous. I will never always turn to others for help. Seeing this, Chin-yu glanced at him slantingly, and said faintly, the defeated generals are brave enough to speak up. Are you itchy? Humph. The scorpion of the red sand snorted proudly, I know, you are very strong. I am not your opponent now, but when I go back to practice the puppet art, one day, I will challenge you again. Chin-yu also shrugged his shoulders indifferently when he heard this, well. Be with me at any time. The two are now rivals and friends. Chin-yu said seriously to the red sand scorpion, I want to see what Sharen can become in the hands of the little panda and you. The scorpion of the red sand did not show any weakness, and said confidently, HMPH. Wait and see, I won't lose to the end leaves of you. Hehe, then I'll wait and see. Chin-yu smiled and said, go back to Konoha. Teju reluctantly waved goodbye to Gaara, and then followed Chin-yu towards the gate of the base. When the few people were about to leave the house, the voice of the red sand scorpion suddenly came from behind. Only this time, his tone seemed a bit awkward. Then what? Wait a minute. Chin-yu turned around, raised his eyebrows impatiently and said, what's wrong again? The scorpion of the red sand said angrily, not looking for you. After speaking, he ran all the way to Sakura's side and asked eagerly, little girl, you are a medical ninja, right? And, is it a very good one? Yeah, Senior Scorpion, do you feel any discomfort? Gaara hurried over to ask. No, it's not me. The red sand scorpion shook his head, and then said, I'm on the way to catch you. A ninja named Kankuro in our sand ninja village chased it out. Kankuro. Temari and Gaara were surprised when they heard the name. Kankuro. What's wrong with Kankuro? Temari looked very excited and rushed up and grabbed the red sand scorpion by the collar. The scorpion of the red sand knew that he was wrong, and did not get angry, but said softly, I didn't kill him, but he was poisoned by me. Call. Hearing that Kankuro was not dead, Temari breathed a sigh of relief and slowly let go of the collar of the scorpion. However, in his heart, he was still terrified, panting heavily. Gaara asked calmly, then what's the situation with this poison now? Not the kind of poison that is deadly on the spot, he should be alive now. The red sand scorpion frowned and said, but that kind of poison is very toxic. After 3 days, people will definitely die. The poison is prepared by me. It is extremely toxic, and the ingredients are extremely complex. It is impossible for ordinary people to untie it. Hearing this, Temari suddenly became anxious, and said anxiously, what are you waiting for? You now hurry to Sharon to save him. That one, the red sand scorpion became a little embarrassed for a while, and said, I can't understand it. I wipe it. Hearing this, even Chin-yu on the side said with a little pain, you can't solve the poison you have prepared yourself. The scorpion of the red sand also said innocently, I am dispensing poison to kill people, what do I want to do with the antidote? Chin-yu rolled his eyes and asked, then you are not afraid of accidentally being poisoned? Ahem. The red sand scorpion coughed awkwardly again, and then said, because I used to be a puppet, I don't need to worry about poisoning at all. I rub. You are ruthless. Chin-yu just broke a bite, completely speechless. The Temari on the side was almost crying, and asked anxiously, then what should I do now? Don't panic. Scorpion waved his hand and said, from the previous battle, I can see that this little girl should have a high level of medical ninjutsu. Yes. Hearing this, Temari slammed his forehead and said, Sakura, she is a disciple of the 5th generation of Hokage Tsunade. She must be able to. The scorpion of the red sand was also shocked when he heard this, and asked, Tsunade. The princess of Sanin, the one who is known as the #1 medical ninja in the ninja world. See someone. Complimenting her teacher, Sakura also looked very proud and said, yes. Tsunade-sama is my master. That's great. The red sand scorpion slapped his thigh and said, if anyone in the ninja world can undo my poison, it must be the legendary adult. If you want to come, her disciples will not be bad. Don't worry. Wrap it on me. Kozakura nodded heavily. In that case, let's leave. 1 minute later, Kanjiro will be more dangerous. Red Sand Scorpion urged. Seeing that Sakura was so sure, Temari and Gaara were also greatly relieved. But it happened that some people took a big shot. Chinyu glanced at the scorpion of the red sand, and then said jokingly, who just said that I don't need Konoha's assistance. Doesn't his face hurt now? Ahem. Seeing Chinyu's ridicule like this, the scorpion of red sand coughed with embarrassment on his face. However, for the sake of my own face, I can only say stiffly, humph. I am not begging you. Chinyu nodded when he saw this, then he twitched the corner of his mouth slightly, and said with a secret smile, so that's it. If that's the case, Sakura, don't go there for now. Why are you still anxious to go back to the village and return to Master Hokage? Yeah. Hearing that, as a teammate, Sakura is also a daze. It can be done like this. Seeing Sakura's bewildered look, Chinyu was not surprised. After a glance, he said faintly, as a ninja, the first thing you need to do is to obey orders. Besides, that painted cat is Sand Shinobu, I have always had no liking for him. The scorpion of the red sand was shaken by Chinyu for a while, and he almost vomited blood. He never imagined how shameless the person in front of him could be so shameless. What's going on now? It can directly prevent the medical ninja from saving lives. However, what can he do when facing the Chinyu? I can't beat him by myself, and I can't talk about him. As the saying goes, the situation is better than human beings, coupled with the fact that he still wants to be with him, he can only helplessly bow his head to admit counsel. I said something wrong. Sand Ninja Village still needs to ask Konoha for your help when necessary. Chinyu, who succeeded in the conspiracy, smiled, and said in a humble manner, that's right. While talking, Chinyu patted the red sand scorpion on the shoulder. However, the scorpion at this time was itchy with hatred, and said angrily in his heart, fellow, when I defeat you in the future, you must be good looking. Chinyu was in a good mood when he saw such an arrogant red sand scorpion. He immediately waved his big hand and immediately changed the order and announced, okay, then Sakura, follow them. As for the others, then follow me back to Konoha. Temari on the side was a little worried about Kankuro, opened his mouth to say something, but did not say it. Seeing this, Chinyu couldn't understand her worries, so he said comfortingly, don't worry. With Sakura here, I'm all Tsunade's apprentice, and the Hulian Mao will do nothing. Furthermore, this matter can't be handled well. As Tsunade's apprentice, he just humiliated Tsunade. Even if you are worried about following, you can't help much. Why not go back to Konoha with me? Xiaoying on the side bit her teeth when Chinyu said just now. Then he secretly angered in his heart. This fool, target me whenever you have a chance. Target me if you don't have a chance to create an opportunity. Gaara also thought that Chinyu was right, and persuaded Temari together. Don't worry, sister, if we go together, Kanjiro will be fine, so you can go back with your brother-in-law. Okay. Temari was so persuaded by Chinyu and Gaara that they were relieved and nodded in agreement. See here, Chinyu took Temari, Kakashi, and Naruto and returned to Konoha leisurely. Gaara is more anxious. I saw that he immediately used a large piece of sand to form a huge mount. After the three of them sat on it, they quickly rushed towards the Sand Ninja Village. When everyone left, a huge pitcher plant slowly rose from the ground. This product is absolutely perfect. Heiju looked at the direction everyone was leaving, and muttered, I didn't expect that these two people were actually planted. However, Baiju laughed a little smirkingly, and said, a frontal contact with Konoha caused the organization to lose a lot. It seems that the leader is going to be furious this time. Heiju heard the words, and it didn't matter that he curled his lips and said, take the ring, go back and report it. Baiju was also boringly curled his lips and said, well. I'm gone, so boring. 2 days later, Akatsuki organizes a new base. The members of the organization once again gathered through the magic lantern body technique. As soon as he showed up, Fei Duan immediately started yelling carelessly, "Yeah. Those two guys haven't come. Aren't they really dead, right?" The angle on the side also sneered and said, "Huh. I was clamoring about some inexplicable art all day long. They died, it doesn't make me surprised at all." Seeing the two people who were just about to make a quarrel, Pain suddenly got annoyed and interrupted them directly. "Enough. Absolutely. What the hell is going on? Let's talk about it." However, the ghost shark on the side was very sure that the two of them had died, and shook their heads and muttered, "Oh. After all, the opponent is that guy. Even if they are all dead, it is not surprising." Although the ghost murmured softly, the voice of everyone was very real. "Well, I feel that the organization doesn't need me to inquire about news in the future," Baiju said strangely. Hearing this, Pain asked coldly, "What do you mean?" Seeing Pain's face turned cold, Heiju didn't panic. Instead he said with a joking expression, "You can get the answer only by the inference of the ghost." "Nani?" Hearing this, Pain's face changed in an instant, and he quickly confirmed, "Daedala and Scorpion, are they really dead?" Definitely nodded, and said, "It was definitely dead in the beginning." "In the beginning? What do you mean?" Pain frowned, feeling a little weird, and asked again, "It's all dead, and what comes after?" After indulging for a while, he continued to say, "Later, the hidden advisor of Sha Shinobu appeared to be an old woman named Chio, and then resurrected the Scorpion." Nani? After flying for a while, he jumped out and asked, "What are you talking about? Resurrected? Are you kidding me?" Even Pain, as the leader, frowned at this moment. He did not expect that in addition to his reincarnation eyes, there are people who can do such a thing as resurrecting the dead. At this time, Ju continued to explain, "This is also what I have analyzed. Outside the cave, I clearly perceive the Scorpion's breath of life completely disappeared for a period of time, and then reappeared again. However, the grandmother has lost her breath, so my analysis is that it should be some kind of secret technique that changes one life for one life." Hearing this, Pain narrowed his eyes and said softly, "So it's like this." At this moment, the bluffing Fei Duan hurriedly started yelling, "In other words, you haven't been able to see it with your own eyes." The angle also said mockingly, "Some people are getting more and more slack now." Juan Yan said furiously on the spot, "Huh. I didn't see it with my own eyes, but I also analyzed and speculated reasonably. Furthermore, with the insight of that fellow Qin Yu, if I dare to show up, I might be cold. Don't talk about checking the situation at that time, it is estimated that you will not even be able to bring back the news." Humph. Fei Duan curled his lips and said, "I don't need to say anything, but I am always aspiring to others. Before, I used to brag in front of us about how awesome my concealment technique is. Now it's all right, it's broken." You. Being run on by this one, he was suddenly furious. Even the Nepenthes on his head trembled because of his anger. At this time, the ghost shark came out. He interrupted and said, "Actually, this can't be blamed. I can only say that Qin Yu is too strong. Otherwise, Daedara and Scorpion wouldn't die so easily." Ha ha. Feijuan took a squint at the ghost shark, and then said mockingly, "Who am I? It turns out that we are the 7 ninja swords who are greedy for life and fear of death. Didn't you have been nailed to the pillar of shame? You still have the face to talk to others." The flying segment at this moment, that is to stun anyone who sees it. And that is not in the slightest. Guiyu was also furious. Since 3 years ago, he and Itachi were beaten up by Qin Yu and fled from Konoha to the organization in embarrassment. He was also beheaded and lost his big scalpel muscle, and he has been ridiculed by the members of Akatsuki all the time. During the last meeting, Guiyu blew a few more waves of Qin Yu to everyone in the organization. As a result, it is conceivable to be ridiculed by the crazy group. Until now, this thing has happened again at the stall of Fei Duan. At this moment, the ghost was directly angry on the spot. Ghost Shark's personality is inherently irritable, and his temper is inherently bad. After being so stunned by Fei Duan, he immediately wanted to copy the guy and fight him. But when he thought that he was in the state of the magic lantern body, he could only stop angrily. Humph. The ghost snorted directly at Fei Duan and then slammed back. "You guys don't talk too much. If it weren't for your luck, you didn't run into that guy, otherwise, you are probably gone now." Fei Duan did not shy away from the ridicule of the ghost shark. I saw him confidently saying, that was because he was lucky enough to miss this uncle, otherwise, this uncle would have dedicated him to the great Cthulhu. At this time, the angle that had not been interrupted suddenly interrupted. Hustle, what is dedicated to the evil god, of course, is to use his head to exchange money, really. Hey hey hey. Hearing this, Fei Duan immediately retorted, if you kill someone, you must make sacrifices directly to Lord Cthulhu. To exchange money or something, that's disrespect to Lord Cthulhu. Ha ha. Guiyu made no secret of his contempt, and said sarcastically, just you two. What dreams are you doing here? If your zombie duo really meets that person, they will be killed, so don't think so much. Asshole. Fei Duan was furious, and pointed at Guiyu's nose and yelled, what do you mean? I think you just. Enough. Pain, who had been silent all the time, just yelled. Everyone fell silent. Even the flying segment that was jumping all the time obediently shut up, and subconsciously shrank his neck. It can be seen that in the Akatsuki organization, the leader of Pain is still very deterrent. Noisy. Noisy as soon as we meet. Can you still talk about business? I'll be the first to speak. If anyone hasn't completed the assigned tail beast capture task by the specified time, don't blame me for being a leader. Yes, although everyone was a little uncomfortable, they still responded sparsely. Ah, Pain sighed helplessly, then waved his hand to Ju, and said, Ju, you continue to say. Since he has been resurrected, why didn't he participate in this gathering? Is something wrong? Quote. Ju Wenyan, first was speechless and didn't know how to say it. After thinking about it for a while, based on my own guess, he said, I don't know what's going on. In short, after the resurrection, the guy seemed to be a different person, and went back to Cheyenne with that little wind shadow. Nani. Pain narrowed his reincarnation eyes, his tone full of coldness. Immediately afterwards, an aura of lingering danger exuded. Obviously, the red sand scorpion has defected. As the leader of the organization, Pain was very angry, but also very angry. And the other members of the organization are also in an uproar at this moment. Nani. Scorpion guy, actually returned to Shaw forbearance. What's the situation? What else is going on? It's not clear that I defected and fled. It seems to mean it. I've said it a long time ago, this guy is not reliable at all. I've seen it a long time ago, this guy is a traitor. In other words, Scorpion should be the second member to defect. Yes, it was Oshimaru who defected before. It's all right now, the two defected. Hearing everyone talking, Pain, as the leader, looked even worse. At this time, Jude also said his own guess. I guess the old lady saved him by giving up her old life, so he has a feeling in his heart, so he returned to Cheyenne. Humph. However, Zhao Du said with a cold snort, the kind of person who does in vivo experiments all day, can he be so human? Hearing this, he definitely seemed to think of something, and said, well, I remembered this when you said it. At the beginning, the organization recruited the Red Sand Scorpion, and the condition was that he could provide him with a large number of living bodies for experimentation. He has never seemed to be interested in our Akatsuki organization's goal of achieving peace. At this time, Xiaonan, who had not spoken all the time, suddenly said, then he chooses to return to Cheyenne now, it should mean that he has given up the path of puppets, and naturally, we don't need us. The Angle was dissatisfied and murmured, huh. This guy is not in harmony with us, he is not reliable at all. Wei Qian looked at the opportunity and sneered at each other. So, you, a fellow with money in your head, can't be trusted. Fart. Zhao Du was furious at hearing this. Isn't the money I saved for organization and service? Hearing this, the ghost said with a sneer, huh. You don't come to this set. This uncle didn't even look at it, let alone spend it. The Angle looked at the ghost shark with disdain, and then mocked, what level are you, and you deserve to spend the organization's money. Most of the money I have worked so hard to save was taken by Xiaonan to buy it and exploded. Cough. Before Zhao Du finished speaking, he heard Pain cough hard. Zhao Du turned his head to look, only to see Pain looking at him ugly, and he was so frightened that he dared not continue speaking. However, what I just said is almost clear. Everyone in the Akatsuki organization understood, and everyone was a little bit dissatisfied. It turns out that so much money was taken by the girl to buy the detonation talisman. What a prodigal girl. What is the relationship between him and the leader? How can the leader be so favoritism? Suddenly, the fire of gossip and dissatisfaction in the hearts of the people of Shao organization were intertwined at this moment. Ahem. The corner coughed awkwardly. He knew that he had said the wrong thing. In order to diverge from this topic, I can only say haha, actually, the money is mainly used for organization building. However, it's okay not to say the angle, the more it is said, the more real it becomes. As the saying goes, the more you describe it, the darker it is. Everyone started the yin and yang weird mode on the spot. Oh, it turned out to be used for organization building. Yes, it must be so. The leader is so selfless, the money must be used where it should be used. Listening to the cynicism of everyone, Peyton shouted out loudly in time, enough. After stopping everyone, Payne glared directly at the angle. Through the look in his eyes, Payne was clearly saying that after so long, Weimao would still be so stupid. The angle understood the look in Payne's eyes, and he lowered his head in embarrassment. Cough. Payne coughed, then opened the subject openly. Money matters aside, let's talk about business now. What do you think of what happened before? Seeing Payne ask this, Feijuan immediately started yelling. How do you look at it? If you dare to openly betray the organization, then you must kill him. Yes, Zhao Du also agreed. This guy has been in the organization for many years, and he knows too many secrets about us, so I must not keep him. At this time, Xiao Nan, who was cold on the side, also said, the action of the Red Sand Scorpion is not the same as the previous Dashawan defecting. Of course it's different. Zhu Lima closed the conversation, and then explained. Oshimaru can say that he was defeated by his younger generation, and he couldn't help running away by himself. And after that guy escaped, it seemed that he built a Panan village to play, and he didn't return to Konoha afterwards. So don't worry too much about the secrets of the organization. But the Scorpion of the Red Sand is different, but he directly returned to the Sand Ninja. Once back to the Sand Ninja village, he will definitely inform the high level of the Sand Ninja. At that time, maybe Fengying will hold the Five Shadows conference. We will make our plan of catching the tail beast public. If that happens, it will be very detrimental to us. After listening to the absolute analysis, Payne nodded in agreement. Obviously, these analyses made by Absolute are very reasonable. Don't know why, Payne feels that today's is definitely different. Compared to the past, I was only responsible for inquiring about the news. Today, however, he is analyzing it in this way. However, how did Payne know that he was definitely the deepest hidden guy? You must know that in order to resurrect Wei, he has worked so hard to gather all the tail beasts as soon as possible. However, just because Qin Yu was born, this old monster felt a little frightened. So at this time, he had to come out to preside over the overall situation. After listening to Zhu's analysis, even the most headless, flying segment of all time waved his hands. Then he yelled loudly, HMPH. Don't talk about these useless. What if the Five Shadows conference is held? This uncle happens to have a sickle and send them all to see Lord Cthulhu. My uncle is most angry about his betrayal of the organization. Such people must be severely punished. At this time, the partner Zhao also yelled, yes. The betrayal organization dared to return to Sand Ninja Village. If I say, we should even level up with Sand Ninja. I still want to hold the Five Shadows conference, there are no doors. If you kill Shinobu directly, there should be a lot of valuable people who can exchange money for me. Furthermore, it just happened to take a tale of the unfavorable work of this job. By the way, catch that Fengying Xiao Kezi again, and then take out the other half too. Yes, that's right. It just so happens that my grandfather's sword is also a bit hungry and thirsty. At this moment, the ghost shark who had almost fought with them, also put aside the previous conflicts at this moment, and yelled loudly, for this guy, apart from his own, Master Ban, and Qin Yu, he is not afraid of anyone. However, he chose to temporarily put aside the contradictions, some people do not appreciate it. I saw Fei Duan smile at the ghost shark disdainfully, and then said in a weird manner, oh. Isn't this our mighty 7 ninja swords? Overwhelming Sand Ninja, how can you do it? That's right, if you lose another arm, it will be embarrassing. Say it in advance. If you break this, uncle, you won't help me pick it up. At this time, Jiaodu also began to mock wildly. Guiyu was furious and couldn't bear it anymore. The ghost shark drew a broad knife from behind, and was about to slash the pair of zombie duo. Even if he knew it was a magic lantern body, he wanted to slash them at this moment. Seeing a few people who were about to work again, Pain suddenly felt very tired. I saw him cry out coldly, "Enough! Ghost shark, don't mess around." Hearing the words, Guiyu felt aggrieved. Pain took a deep breath, and then continued to teach. "There are also you two, the horns and the flying section, and you two should also be safe. Don't move the yin and yang." "Oh," the three reluctantly replied, but they still looked at each other uncomfortably. At this time, Fuden tentatively asked, "The leader, the thing that we just said about destroying the sands, you see." After Pen pondered for a while, he said decisively, "No. No matter how you say it, Shinobu is one of the 5 great Shinobu villages. To destroy it, even for the Akatsuki organization, is a troublesome thing. Fight head to head with Darren Village, this is not what we are good at, and it is not necessary at all. The most important thing now is that we are not sure whether they really want to notify other ninja villages, and even if they notify other ninja villages, they may not believe it. You must know that these ninja village executives have been hiding and calculating with each other. This is not a day or two. It is not so easy for them to reach a consensus, so there is no need to worry too much." Pain Barabara said a lot. It can be said that it is completely justified. Even Heiju on the side nodded inwardly. Madara, he didn't read the wrong person, this kid is still very knowledgeable. Even Uchiha Itachi, at this moment, feels that Pen is indeed doing a good job. However, not everyone thinks so. Fei Duan yelled dissatisfiedly, "What? After analyzing a big tweet, I didn't understand it too much. Could it be that the traitor, the Red Sand Scorpion, won't be punished?" Pain heard this and looked at Fei Duan and said coldly, "Of course the traitor needs to be punished, but it is not an attack on Shan-nin, understand it. What we have to do at this stage is to hurry up and gather the tail beasts. Only before the 5 great ninja villages react, we can capture and seal all the tail beasts before we can implement our plan. Do you understand everything?" "Yes," everyone replied in a deep voice. Seeing this, Pain waved his hand and announced, "Well, in that case, let's adjourn the meeting now. Everyone is busy with the work at hand." Before everyone left, Feijuan shouted again, "Wait a minute." Hearing this, Pain asked without angrily, "What's wrong?" Fei Duan didn't seem to hear Pain's bad tone, and asked bluntly, "What about that little kid named Qin Yu? Because of this kid, our tail beast extraction plan was destroyed, and 2 more members were lost. This account should be counted on his head. How can we let him go easily? Not bad." Jiaodu also sneered at this time and said, "This guy is so strong when he is so young. He must be strangled in the cradle. Otherwise, he will definitely become a confidant of the organization in the future." The corners of Pain's mouth twitched when they heard these words. At this moment, his heart is broken. He wanted to ask, "Do you 2 fools do not understand people? Is it not clear enough what labor and management said? Now the first task is to catch the tail beast. Why did he just say not to attack Xia Yin, and in a blink of an eye he was going to kill Qin Yu again? Qin Yu is so easy to kill. If this guy is really so easy to be killed by you, will the organization lose 4 people in a row in his hands? In the organization, will he directly do 2 of them? Are your 2 heads a pig head? Can't figure this out." Pain suddenly felt tired, really tired. Pain lay down in various ways, and then shouted directly at the fly section and the horns, "Catch the tail beast first. Catch the tail beast first, understand? Give me the energy of your group of friends on the tail catcher thing, understand? Will I continue to explain?" Pain almost roared out his last words. He is afraid that this is not the case, and these 2 guys probably don't understand it again. "Hey." When the 2 heard the words, they looked at each other, both of them a little dissatisfied. As if knowing that the 2 really knew, Pain said to them again, "Qin Yu's affairs are temporarily put down, and when I find a suitable opportunity, I will get rid of him by myself. You 2 guys, remember to be safe, don't give me the initiative to find him. I don't want to lose 2 members in the organization again. I don't have the time to find it." After Pen said straightforwardly, he immediately relieved the magic lantern body technique with exhaustion. After pain left, Feijuan and Angle looked at each other again, and then they both saw the dissatisfaction in each other's eyes. Although they were dissatisfied, the leaders had no choice but to obey orders. However, at this moment, the ghost shark on the side suddenly leaned over, and said to the two directly as if provoking, "I heard you two, the leader just said it clearly, you are not Qin Yu's opponent at all, so just stay here." Roll. Hearing this, Fei Duan directly cursed disdainfully, "Are we his opponents? We won't know until we have fought. As for you, you are not someone's opponent at all. I'm sure about this." Yu Guiyu was furious. "You fool, do you want to make gestures?" Fei Duan was not afraid, and responded directly, "Fear of you? Come on, you are destined to be my defeated man. A little kid can scare you, and you dare to be arrogant in front of this uncle, you are looking for death. If this uncle meets this guy from Qin Yu, this uncle will definitely dedicate him to Lord Cthulhu. This guy Phaedon, because he has an immortal body, has never been afraid of anyone since his debut." At this time, the ghost shark was also made angry by the flying section, and he said angrily, "Wait. Next time I meet, see how you uncle I use my big knife to cut you into a stick. But, you have to be careful when you are outside. Don't really meet Qin Yu, otherwise you won't need me to do it." Snapped. After the ghost shark finished speaking, the magic lamp body of this goods went out directly. Fei Duan was just about to yell at the ghost shark, but found that the other person was no longer in sight, and suddenly jumped angrily. Seeing the ghost shark leaving, Uchiha Itachi also left, and the figure disappeared instantly. The undead duo saw that they were left alone, and they also dispelled the magic lantern body technique one after another. However, they are actually together, so it does not prevent them from continuing to communicate. Feijuan was very angry, and said to his partner Zhao in dissatisfaction, "I said Zhaodu, they seem to look down on us one by one." After hearing the words, Zhaodu said with a gloomy face, "Yes. From the leader to the ghost shark, and even the dead face Uchiha Itachi, it seems that we are not optimistic about us." Fei Duan took his sickle up uncomfortably, waved it a few times in the air, and then said, "What should I do? Did you recognize it as the leader said?" "Humph." Zhaodu snorted coldly, then remained silent, obviously he was weighing. However, no matter what he thinks, the more annoying he gets. In the end, he said with a low growl, "No. We can't be underestimated like this. We must get rid of the little Qin Yu to prove our strength. Let's go to the country of fire. It just so happened this time that this guy came out and made a lot of noise. The black market already has his reward, and the price is not low. We can exchange his head for a lot of money, and I can store his heart." Hearing this, Fei Duan directly disagrees and retorts, "Zhaodu, you are here again. It is always money, or it is collecting hearts. After you kill him, you must dedicate him to Lord Cthulhu. Otherwise, it will be disrespect to Lord Cthulhu. Is it easy for me for such a long time? I run around with you every day, just killing people in exchange for money, and I haven't offered a good sacrifice to Lord Cthulhu. If this continues, Lord Cthulhu will definitely be angry." Seeing that Fei Duan was about to start his long talk again, the Angle hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Thank you, how to allocate it after killing him? We will discuss this later, and kill him first." Fei Duan nodded in agreement and said, "Okay." These two people said at this moment as if they could get Qin Yu's head right away. The two of them walked towards the country of fire. While on the way, Feijuan asked with some guilty conscience, "What about the tail catcher? We are going to catch the second tail. That guy seems to be in the kingdom of thunder. Now we are going to the country of fire, this is completely the opposite direction." Angle snorted directly, and then said coldly, "Fei Duan, you are too worried. Do you really think that the leader does not value Qin Yu? Do you really think he doesn't want to kill Qin Yu? If you really want to, then it's so wrong. I think the leader wants to kill that kid more than anyone else. He just underestimated us. But I'm sure, as long as we kill that little fool, it will definitely be a great achievement. It will even make the leader more happy than catching the second tail." Fei Duan nodded without comprehension and said, "So it's like this. He is a straight boy, and he doesn't understand these twists and turns. Anyway, he says yes, that's all right. In fact, Zhao Du's analysis was fine. If they could really kill Qin Yu, Pen would definitely wake up with a smile in his dreams. Even if the second tail capture was delayed, Pain would not blame it, but the premise is that you can really kill Qin Yu. Just when this undead duo set foot on the land of fire, as Tsunade of the 5 generations of Hokage, he was summoning Qin Yu. You know, even Tsunade, who is Hokage, would not easily summon Qin Yu under normal circumstances. For this summoning, there must be a new task and situation. However, it is called a summoning, but it does not look like a half summoning. In the Naruto office, Tsunade sat behind his desk. As for Qin Yu, he was directly paralyzed on the chair in front of the desk, with his feet resting on Hokage's desk unruly. On the side, Silent stood quietly with a helpless face. For this master, he was really helpless. Since she has been a ninja for so long, she has never seen such a pull in the Naruto office. Even the elite shinobu, or even the patriarch of some big families, must respectfully bow their heads and obey orders when they come to the Hokage office. As for the man in front of me, it seems to be a forbearance so far. But thinking about the merit and strength of this young master, she suddenly felt that she seemed to be understandable. Qin Yu sat on the chair and saw Tsunade, who hadn't spoken for a long time, and then asked carelessly, "Well, what kind of wind is today that caused Hokage-sama to find me? What's the matter?" Hearing this, Tsunade glared at him abruptly, and then said, "Sucky boy. There are no rules at all. Kakashi reported to me the last Fengyin rescue process. You kid did a good job." With joy on Qin Yu's face, he immediately winked his eyes and said, "So if you call me this time, do you want to give me some reward?" When Tsunade heard this, he said suddenly, "My old lady rewards you with a fist. Do you want it? I haven't had a task for 3 years, but I finally have a task, but I am embarrassed to be rewarded." Seeing this, Qin Yu knew that the rewards would definitely be gone, and he didn't have much interest at once. He curled his lips and asked in a lack of interest, "If you don't give it, don't give it. If you ask me to come over today, what's the matter?" Finally back to the topic, Tsunade also put away his joking thoughts. She looked at Qin Yu with a serious face, and then said, "Fengyin has heard news. Because of the return of the once member of the Xiao organization, the Red Sand Scorpion, their senior management of the Xiao Ren has a lot of information on the Xiao organization. Fengyin feels that Akatsuki's plan is very big and might even threaten the ninja world, so he plans to hold the 5 Shadows Conference." Qin Yu waved his hand indifferently about this, and said, "Well, let me tell you, this 5 Shadows Conference is not interesting, it's just arguing with each other, those shadows, who believes in each one." Tsunade also knew that Qin Yu was right, and he sighed helplessly for a while, and said, "I didn't expect you fool to see so thoroughly." Indeed, Fengyin had some trouble with that little devil. Yanyan's old Oyamu was stubborn, and Yunyan's fool. These 2 people didn't even bother to participate. Qin Yu thought this was normal, and curled his lips and said, "Oh. It's normal." After speaking, the brows on his eyes suddenly wrinkled, and then he said in a shocking voice, "Wait, so I am called, do you need me to go to Yanyan and Yunyan? Put both toying and raking, give them pain and force them to attend the meeting." At this moment, the silent listening side was also speechless, so he had to hold his forehead to express his attitude. Tsunade, who had just drank a sip of water, almost squirted it out when he heard the words. "Ah, kid, just talk nonsense. If you really did that, then it's not going to conduct the 5 Shadows tournament, but the 4th Ninja World War." Hearing this, Qin Yu tickled the corner of his mouth, and immediately smiled jokingly. "I know, you feel sorry for me, and I'm afraid I won't be able to come back, so you will be lonely." Hearing Qin Yu's words, Tsunade yelled in shame for a while, "Get out of my mother. Go, goodbye to you." Qin Yu was not at all angry about this, but turned around cheerfully and left. "Asshole, come back to my old lady." Tsunade rolled his eyes angrily, trembling in front of him with anger. Qin Yu shrugged, expecting it to happen. I had to collapse back on the chair and asked again, "So, what's the matter?" Yan Yin and Yun Yin are not interested in this matter at all, and they are even quite ridiculed. On the contrary, Wu Yin, who has been in contact with the outside world less often, seems a bit positive this time. Fogyan has not selected a new water shadow since the death of the 4th generation of water shadows. For this matter, they deliberately selected the 5th generation of water shadows, and the succession ceremony is only a week later. Hearing the name of the 5 dynasties Shui Ying, Qin Yu's glasses suddenly lit up. With a playful smile on his face, Terumi Ming's charming figure began to appear in his mind, and he muttered, as the 5 dynasties Shui Ying. However, he quickly adjusted his thoughts, and then continued, so, what does this have to do with me? You don't want to give me the position of Naruto. As soon as he said this, Tsunade stared at him angrily and said, I want to let it go to you. Would you like to pick it up? Qin Yu directly waved his hand, skipping the topic and said, stop it, I think you did a good job. Okay, let's talk about business. Tsunade put away his joking thoughts, the expression on his face even became a little serious. Mist seems to want to have a good relationship with Konoha. For this water shadow ceremony, they invited Konoha to send someone to watch the ceremony. I thought about it, Konoha now has weight, that is, you and Jiraiya, and of course the old man. But, they don't seem to be very suitable. Why don't you go there? In fact, when Tsunade said this, he was tentatively asking. She even thought that if Qin Yu had to refuse, then she would go to Zilai Yi. As for being unobedient, it's a big deal, just a beat. However, she hadn't expected that Qin Yu would be so uncharacteristic this time. Well, go to Wuyin to watch the 5 generations of succession, no problem. What Qin Yu had promised was simply and neat, and all Tsunade present were surprised. What's wrong with this kid today? Has his way changed? Your kid actually promised so happy. Didn't you want to take those girls out to play? I told you this is absolutely impossible. There are so many tasks now, they all have tasks. Upon hearing this, Qin Yu rolled his eyes and said, what are you thinking about? I'll go alone. Regarding Tsunade's guess, Qin Yu was extremely disdainful in his heart. My uncle went to Wuyin, how could he take the girl? With the girl, how can you get Terumi-me in a grand manner? It turns out that he promised to be so happy on this trip, and it was purposeful. And this purpose can already be seen, it is to pick up girls. Okay then, Tsunade always felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell. Seeing Qin Yu agreed, he was not entangled. Then he picked up a document from the table and handed it to Qin Yu, look at this. Qin Yu took it nonchalantly, and then asked, what is this? Tsunade shrugged and said slowly, because of the disdain of Tukage and Raikage, the 5 Shadows Conference cannot be held for the time being. Gaara couldn't help it. He sent us all the information about the Akatsuki organization he got from the Scorpion of Red Sand. This contains all the information that the Scorpion of Red Sand knows about the members of the Akatsuki organization. I looked at it and it was quite detailed. Except for the mysterious leader of the Akatsuki organization, the information of the other members is basically on it. You take a good look, if you encounter it when you are out, you may be prepared for it. Tsunade looked at Qin Yu, with deep concern hidden in his beautiful eyes. Qin Yu flipped it casually, then curled his lips and said disdainfully, actually, I don't think there is any need to watch this thing. At the same time, he was saying in his heart, the Scorpion of the Red Sand knows a fart, if I write it, even Pain's information will be written plainly for you. But he couldn't say this directly. Snapped. After Qin Yu flipped through it pretendingly, he closed the file directly and threw it on the Hokage desk. For him, this document is really nothing to read. After all, as the cross party, he knows much more than the Red Sand Scorpion. Is it finished? Seeing Qin Yu so quickly, Tsunade asked in shock, why don't you take it back and take a look? It's not a rush to go to Wuyin, there is still a week. Qin Yu directly waved his hand, and said simply and carelessly, you don't have to be so troublesome, just glance at it. For me, it's not a difficult opponent. I'm going to go to Fog Hidden tomorrow, start early, and get better on the road. Hearing this, Tsunade nodded in agreement, and then said, all right, you should go to the Fog and hide, don't mess around, and work hard to establish a good relationship with Shin Shui Ying. You wear half of the Hokage sleeves that I gave you, and you have a reputation. Fog Yin will not underestimate you. If Konoha can bring me another ally like Shinobu, that would be great. Oh, Qin Yu heard this, with a weird expression on his face, and immediately said with a smile but not a smile, Master Hokage said, let me have a good relationship with Shin Shuiying, right? No problem, no problem. It's on me. Chin Yu's positive attitude this time surprised Tsunade very much. He immediately asked, what's wrong? Chin Yu hooked the corner of his mouth and said in his heart, now Konoha, besides me, probably no one knows that Shui Ying is a woman in the 5 dynasties. Tsunade suddenly remembered something, and hurriedly said, by the way, there is another very important thing. Chin Yu shook his brows and asked, what? Tsunade thought for a while, and then said roughly, this was something the old man told me a few days ago, and I find it incredible. I won't tell you the details. In short, you just need to remember that you must never fight Uchiha Itachi, let alone take his life. Okay. Chin Yu hooked the corners of his mouth, and then said with some playfulness, it looks like that guy is an old man's secret son, what about Uchiha's family? Chin Yu was originally a cross-party, so he ignored the previous grievances and hatreds of the Uchiha family. In his words, it's all about me. Tsunade's low brows frowned, and then said, the old man is reluctant to say the specific details, maybe there are any taboos involved, so don't ask more, just know that there is such a thing. However, you still have to be cautious with that kid from Uchiha's family. Yeah, I know. Chin Yu waved his hand and made a gesture to leave. At this time, Tsunade was a little groggy and exhorted again, boy, now go to the mist, be careful all the way. Tsunade-sama is too worried. Mute, who had never spoken, interrupted with a smile, this person, I haven't seen him suffer a loss. Not to mention the strength, there is still time and space for ninjutsu, there is no danger in any way. Tsunade smiled unconsciously when he heard the words. This is also reasonable, this kid is indeed a master who never suffers. Chin Yu, who has not left yet, suddenly had a smile on his face, and said to Tsunade jokingly, why, Master Naruto is reluctant to bear me. Bah, who can't bear you anymore? Tsunade blushed. Seeing this situation, Chin Yu suddenly said bashfully, well, let's keep the old rules. Hearing this, Tsunade asked in a daze, what old rules? At this moment, Chin Yu rang for her. Chin Yu quickly reached out his right hand towards Tsunade, and shook it up. Tsunade's scale is not comparable to those of the little girls, it is a sour and refreshing. Of course it's the old rules before separating each time, ah. Tsunade was immediately embarrassed and yelled, take a punch from my old lady. Bang! The Hokage desk in front of him burst into pieces, but Chin Yu's figure had long since disappeared. This fool, Tsunade was particularly angry. Quote. Silent coughed dryly, lowering his head not knowing what to say. She has already taken offense to this young master's bold operations from time to time. In this scene, she no longer knows how many times she has seen it. After Chin Yu left Hokage's office with Fei Leishan, he returned home directly. Afterwards, he was doing something wrong at home, and went straight out of the village the next day and embarked on the road to Wuyin village in the water country. At the same time, Hida and Zhao have also penetrated into the hinterland of the country of fire. Not far from Konoha village. It has been 2 days since the two entered the country of fire, and it can be said that they have found nothing. At this time, the Fei Duan who is talking about tuberculosis is constantly complaining. Hey, Zhaodu, what are we going to do? It's impossible to take a chance like this. What if this kid keeps lying in Konoha and can't come out? Are we going to rush into Konoha directly to kill him? Humph. Zhaodu snorted coldly and said, it's impossible for a guy of his level to stay in Konoha forever. And I have a hunch that we might meet him soon. Zhaodu was talking, and suddenly there was a hint of excitement in his tone. I have a hunch, we might meet him soon. Even so, Fei Duan has a different statement, but according to Jude, this kid has been in Konoha's nest for 3 years before, and there is no news. Hearing that, Kodo also shook his head, and then analyzed, it was before, maybe Konoha is trying to hide his whole card. Moreover, this time Konoha sent him out in order to save Sand Shinobu's Fukage. In addition, this time the incident has caused such a big disturbance, now the major Shinobu villages should have noticed him. Some people even offer high-priced rewards for his head on the black market, and it doesn't make any sense to hide it. In Zhao Du's heart, or in the eyes of everyone, they thought that Chin Yu had not appeared in the past few years because Konoha was trying to hide this whole card. Because only thinking like this is the most logical way of thinking. Therefore, for Jiaodu's analysis, at first glance, it sounds like the best. However, what everyone would never have imagined was that Qin Yu had not appeared in the ninja realm in the past 3 years, and it was not a shit Konoha who wanted to hide his trump card. The reason is simple, he is simply lazy. If you are still talking about the reason, it should be Tsunade's pampering. However, although Zhao Du's analysis is very reasonable, the simple-minded Fei Duan is still ready to continue to sing the opposite. But in case, hearing that, before he finished speaking, he interrupted his words in anger and said, "No but. Nothing in case. If he really nests in Konoha and can't come out, we will sneak into Konoha and kill him. Just so, maybe we can get a few more valuable heads to exchange for money." Hearing this, Fei Duan was suddenly excited, and the whole person said as if he was beaten up, "Yes." Just after getting excited, he immediately thought of something and said directly, "But, in that case, why don't we directly hit Konoha from the front, we just saw one kill the other at that time." "You gotta kidding me." Zhao Du glared at the idiot companion beside him with disgust, and said disgustedly, "Do you want to get in from the front? What do you think Konoha is? I won't stop you if you want to die, but don't pull me." Humph. Fei Duan is extremely arrogant and doesn't care at all. Immediately shook his head and yelled, "Zhao Du, when did you persuade you like this? You and I are both immortal." Compared with Fei Duan's unknown sky and thick earth, Zhao Du is still more self-aware and said, "I'm not dead. It's just you. You can't die. But if you really want to be cut into several pieces and buried separately, it's irritating." Bah, bah, bah. Hearing this, Fei Duan immediately yelled with great dissatisfaction, "You are really boring. What kind of frustrating nonsense?" Zhao curled his lips, and then turned away from the topic. "Well, let's continue rushing to Konoha to find Qin Yu." Wait. Zhao Du was talking, and suddenly stopped. Immediately, his eyes looked forward indefinitely. "The simple corners are like this," Fei Duan asked loudly, "What's the matter with the corners? What happened?" After speaking, there was no chance to see the corner, so he turned his head to look straight ahead with the line of sight of the corner. "I saw a figure wearing a black imperial robes and a long sword walking out of the woods directly in front. The visitor seemed to be only 15 or 16 years old, with a cynical smile on his mouth, his eyes locked slightly on the two of them. The scorpion of the red sand has really abandoned the dark and turned to the light, and has done a good job. In his intelligence, there are not only the abilities of Akatsuki's members, but even portraits. If Qin Yu didn't know these two people at first, he could tell by just looking at the portrait. Opposite Qin Yu, although Fei Duan was a dumbfounder, he wasn't really stupid. He could see some problems from Zhao Du's gradually solemn expression. Immediately asked doubtfully, "What's wrong with Kodo? Is this person very tricky? Is it Konoha's ninja?" However, he didn't bring Konoha forehead protection either. As for Qin Yu's Konoha forehead, I didn't know which corner it was thrown in. After all, he has a famous saying, that is, who is a decent person to protect his forehead? "Shut up, idiot." When Zhao heard the thoughtless question of Fei Duan, he replied a little angrily, "Can't you see it yet? Black royal god robe, long sword, and that half of the Hokage sleeve. This person is Qin Yu. Nani, that Qin Yu is him." Fei Duan was a little unbelievable. "I just didn't believe it, and then I turned to feel that Zhao's words must be true. After all, this guy is most concerned about Qin Yu's head. You know that on the black market, there is clear information about Qin Yu's appearance." After thinking about this, Fei had nostrils up to the sky for a while, and looked at Qin Yu on the opposite side arrogantly. Immediately sneered and asked, "Hey boy, you are Qin Yu, that Konoha Qin Yu." His obsession towards Qin Yu is also quite deep. On the one hand, he wants to prove to the leader and ghosts that he can defeat Qin Yu. On the other hand, he probably had the same thoughts as Deidara. That is, both of them had been defeated by Itachi Uchiha, and now Uchiha Itachi was beaten by Qin Yu. So if he can defeat Qin Yu, doesn't it mean that he has surpassed Uchiha Itachi? Therefore, as soon as we met, he was ready to give Qin Yu a slap in the face. However, when it comes to pretending to be better than to engage in human mentality, which one is the strongest, Konoha pretends to force Wang Qinyu to be the strongest. Qin Yu smiled slightly, and immediately said, yes, I am Qin Yu. Just step on the horse, you call the zombie duo. You. As soon as Qin Yu's words were uttered, it was a thunderous rage when he flew for a while and was angry. He himself is an extremely arrogant man, so he can hardly see others underestimate himself. Staring at Qin Yu immediately, he yelled, HMPH. Junior, how dare you talk to this uncle like this? It's so bold, I think you are looking for death. Even the corner next to him was gloomy at this moment. I saw him smile sullenly, and immediately said, boy, you are really bold. If you keep staying in Konoha village and don't come out, we really don't want to deal with you. But now, hee, I want your heart. At this moment, the restless Fei Duan also laughed wildly, Gia. Smelly boy, dare to step out of Konoha, you are indeed looking for death. Seeing Fei Duan laughing wildly while shouting loudly, Qin Yu immediately smiled coldly and said, hee. I should have said this to you. You two of Akatsuki's miscellaneous fish, dare to step into my country of fire. Isn't it good to live well? Why do you have to come and die? Ha ha ha. Seeing Qin Yu said so arrogantly, Fei suddenly laughed loudly and exaggeratedly, this is really an arrogant kid. It's okay to tell you. We came here specially for Konoha, just to kill you. Fei Duan just yelled a few words, then began to think again. Just now, the corner is still saying that I will meet soon, but I didn't expect to meet it so soon. I wipe it. Jiaodu, your mouth is open. The corner on the side heard the words, rolled his eyes at Fei Duan angrily, and then twitched the corners of his mouth slightly and said, don't talk nonsense. Qin Yu smiled upon hearing this and said, are you here specifically to kill me? Obviously, he was not surprised by this result. After all, he just broke Xiao's organization's plan to draw one tail, and directly caused Xiao to lose 2 generals, so it's strange not to be targeted. He didn't know that it was not Nagato's order to kill him, but that these 2 silly people had to come. But even if you know what, these 2 items are delivered to your door, you can't blame yourself. Qin Yu immediately smiled coldly and said to the 2 of them, but your leader really underestimated me, so he sent you 2 miscellaneous fish to kill me. Or you angered him. He wanted to use my hand to get rid of you, so he deliberately let you die. Ha, what an arrogant kid. Fei Duan snorted coldly at Qin Yu dissatisfiedly, and then yelled loudly, the leader is busy. How can I take care of you? Our brothers came voluntarily. Oh, it turns out that I came to die voluntarily. Qin Yu looked like I understood, and immediately nodded and said, then I will do it for you. If you know me, that's the most helpful person. Fei Duan's face was full of killing intent at this time, and immediately stared at Qin Yu coldly and said, hey. Boy, your mouth is really sharp, I'm really crazy to hear it. I just don't know, when I sacrifice you to Lord Cthulhu for a while, can you be so sharp? The angle beside Fei Duan also shook his head at this moment and said, what a arrogant kid. As soon as he finished speaking, Zan even assumed the demeanor of a predecessor, and then slowly began his classic pretense. Boy, compared to me, you are far worse in terms of strength and combat experience. Seeing you, a kid from Konoha village, I remembered the Konoha ninja who first fought with me, the original Naruto. Tisk tut, it's starting again. Jiaodu, you really yell at everyone when you see it, for fear that others won't know that you played against the guy from the first generation of Naruto. Feijuan muttered, shaking his head. Shut up for me. Jiaodu suddenly shouted angrily at Fei Duan. However, after he finished speaking the previous sentence, he kept his eyes on Qin Yu. He wanted to see how horrified this arrogant kid would look after hearing the news. However, he was doomed to be disappointed. I saw Qin Yu just looking at him with a smile, with undisguised mockery in his eyes. Seeing this, Jiaodu felt incredible for a while. Immediately asked in shock, little devil, you are not surprised at all. You can hear clearly. What I said is that I fought against the original Naruto of your village, the guy called Theogod of Ninja. Now, have you heard clearly? Ha ha. Qin Yu smiled coldly at this, and then said in a very natural tone, excuse me, what's surprising about this? As soon as he finished speaking, he said solemnly, it's true that I've played against the original Hokage too. In an instant, the scene suddenly became silent. After Fei Duan and Zhao listened to Qin Yu's words, they both froze in place, their mouths wide open. Ha 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 ha. The quiet time always passed quickly. 5 seconds later, Fei Juan let out a shocking laugh. When Fei Duan was laughing, he also yelled intermittently. Ha ha ha, Jiaodu, I thought you like bragging most, but I didn't expect this, ha ha ha. He said he fought against the first generation of Hokage. Ha ha ha, no more, I can't do it, I'm going to die of laughter. I said, kid, are you sure you know who the original Hokage is? Even if it is calculated by age, whether your grandfather has seen the first generation of Hokage or not, I am afraid it will be the same. Ha 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 ha. The character of Fei Duan was very detached. Now that he heard Qin Yu say this, he immediately patted his stomach and laughed without image. Seeing this, Qin Yu's mouth twitched slightly unconsciously as an opponent. Even so, she actually didn't lie. You know, when the Konoha turmoil was launched by Orochimaru before, the dirty soil was reincarnated in the first generation of Hokage. At that moment, Qin Yu had already fought him. Therefore, Qin Yu's words are not lying, but they are true. At this moment, unlike Fei Duan who really felt funny, Jiaodu only felt that he was humiliated. In his opinion, Qin Yu's speaking like this is totally distrusting him, and he is humiliating him. This is no wonder. After all, saying this at Qin Yu's age is completely nonsense in anyone's eyes. After all, who would have thought that there would be such a forbidden technique for reincarnation in the dirty soil? This kind of prohibition is strictly confidential, and it is not well known to everyone. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.